Welcome back to the Long Leg Inn. Come, sit down and listen. The adventurers from Of Dice and Men are about to tell us a story.
Hi, welcome to Histories of Pethuania, Episode 5. The greatest derailments of our time.
Hey.
I'm Jerry.
I'm Cammy. You've probably maybe met me.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I'm Chloe. I hope you've never met me because I'm very weird.
Oh, harsh.
Until now.
Just friends you haven't met yet,
Yeah,
alright?
exactly.
And this is Darby, our resident wild mage. He's off camera for reasons.
We don't trust him.
Yeah, he'll be talking,
it's
but
for the best.
Okay, so starting off our lovely derailment session. There are plenty of
First
them.
off,
Plenty to go.
let's just explain what a derailment is. For
Oh
someone
yeah,
less
okay,
educated,
fair point.
Yeah.
So
Less experienced.
I often, as anyone who runs D&D or other things like this, you'll have a set plan of what you want the story to be and how you think it's going to flow. You'll have the plot points all set out, everything set. And then the players will decide to take the train off the rails and they'll put it down the hill and they'll watch it tumble and flip and destroy things and it will end up in a town 19 kilometers away and the tracks won't exist anymore. That's when they've derailed the story and you have to think, what the hell comes next? And so this is going to be a compilation of those moments for me. With people giving their opinions and me saying stuff that they didn't.
Generally speaking, caused by.
Yeah. Okay, so starting off, we're going to go with what I thought was a throwaway NPC. It was going to be a little joke. It's going to throw it out. It was going to be hilarious, and then it was going to be over.
No NPC is a throwaway NPC, Jerry. To quote myself in episode 2, Jerry, she has to have a backstory. She's a 9.
I'm not even surprised.
This guy wasn't a 9 though.
No. So,
He might be for some.
a little bit of backstory. The players were currently moving through, trying to hunt down this
Naida.
undead presence. There was apparently a necromancer on this hill, and they were going through to root him out and deal with him. So they'd gone up, they'd searched through, they'd found a lair, a few bits of evidence here and there.
A few bits. I got turned into an anti-life machine.
Like I said, a few bits of evidence here and there. Now, the actual necromancer, who they were after, there were a few hints and clues in there that led elsewhere. It was supposed to be a start of an investigation that led to another place. And that would be very interesting. And it was full of little hints and clues. It was like following breadcrumbs all throughout the countryside with quest points and combats, everything thrown together.
Yeah, that would have been cool.
Yeah, it would have
Yeah,
been.
that sounds like a cool
You know what
plan.
happened instead?
did.
Instead, there was an NPC I had. Now, I was like, you know, it's a hideaway mountain. I'm going to put in something as a joke. There's going to be a guy who just wants to stay up here and just learn magic in quiet because he's sick of all these pesky adventurers ruining his studies.
How dare they?
He studied necromancy, but
Yeah,
no one
Sick
knew
of
that.
these pesky necromancers.
And so he was coming back, and I was like, okay, he's going to be doing some sort of mundane job. What'll he be doing? Made a roll. He was either going to be sweeping outside of cave, cleaning, like his boots, polishing something, reading a book. But he ended up coming back with groceries. So he's literally just this guy walking around in common clothes with a large paper bag full of groceries. Fruit, veggies, few spell components. Nothing too sus though. At this point, he was at level 1 commoner. Nothing special. He had 4 hit points. Poor.
Oh,
The party at this point, what, you guys were like level 5, 6?
We were about level 4 or 5. Because Naida never got higher than that.
Right. So, you know, they're still beginning,
Quite low.
but they're stronger than a level 1 commoner by far.
Especially collectively.
Yeah, collectively.
We were a party of about 6 or 7 at this time, because I think Shun might have been there for that.
Yeah, he
session
was,
as
because
well.
he was using the many one of the crossbows. So they had this cart,
Funny.
and they had their artificer had fitted this cart out with several mounted crossbows. One great crossbow on top, and that's Sidron Silverbeard. He's been mentioned before. Some of you may know him from tales such as, "Honey, where's my auto wagon?"
Is that,
But-
is that the sum tales such as?
Yes.
Yeah, alright.
All right.
Or,
And so they're going down with this wagon, and they see this guy. Now at this point, the little Warren folk, which is a custom race.
Introduce your character.
yeah. So my Warren folk, he stands like 3 foot tall, and this is the cleric, Fistandor.
Bunny boy.
Yeah, little buddy boy. His ears are like a foot taller than him. I can't remember what I got on his tail fluff, but
What percentage?
It was
Yeah.
high.
It was
yeah,
quite
it was.
high, yeah.
It was. He was quite fluffy.
You keep on arguing that it should prevent fall damage.
I did.
That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah, so he was getting around. Good guy. Good guy.
Like healing people.
Yeah. So previously in the cave with Jerry's hints on the other necromancer, I got slurped into, was it a painting or a vase?
This is a.
Uh,
There was a vase.
there was
in
both.
there.
But
Because
you
the
got hit by
I
the
remember the
vase.
vase.
Yeah.
The vase.
Vase.
Specifically had. This was a picture I was looking for just then. It was a skull
Yeah, the
with like the
laughing-
rose thorns.
Yeah, the laughing,
Yeah, the laughing
flowers
skull.
Yeah.
thing.
I remember that.
And I got
good.
slurped into that, and basically my understanding of it was all of my healing powers and everything that I stood for got flipped on its head, and my healing
I've got
inflicted
turned upside down.
instead. And that didn't make me happy.
Yeah.
Sad bunny boy now.
Yeah.
So what this did was it was more of a joke trap than anything else. What it did was whenever you use a cure spell, it reverses it to inflict, and whenever you use an inflict spell, it reverses it to cure. That was kind of funny.
I was gonna try that, but worshipper of Vistandor, I don't really want to inflict in case it does inflict.
And so it was just an unfortunate save on the effect, and the effect wasn't permanent. It was for a set amount of time,
Oh, as if we
but it was long enough.
Yeah. I didn't know this.
Yeah.
And that's all that mattered. So we were travelling down the mountain path on the cart, saw this guy with like a nondescript brown paper bag. I do the smart thing and I detect magic. He detects of necromancy. Right, I'm savage.
Yeah.
I'm just having none of this.
just bunny with rabies, basically, at
Yeah.
this point.
I leapt off the roof of the car.
Yes.
Didn't I?
Yes, he's walking over, and he looked over, and there was a solid 10 seconds at the table where I just
I
said,
think-
oh, he stops, and he looks at you.
I think I remember specifically saying that there was probably a severed head in the bag, but that's because we played PT recently.
Yeah, well.
I was convinced, and I don't think Chloe was gonna question it at that point. She's like, yeah, severed head, alright,
I mean,
evil.
the correlation between the whole necromancy, me being unable to heal at the moment, and him being a necromancer or detecting of necromancy walking up this path, it was enough information for me to go on. So I leapt from the roof of the cart. I landed on him, and then he broke my jaw.
You jumped and tried to bite him.
Yeah.
And because you weren't proficient in unarmed combat,
Yeah,
you
no,
got an
because
attack of
I'm cleric.
opportunity. And this level 1 commoner got an nat 20, and then confirmed with a 19. And then we rolled on, and we used a crit chart, as has been mentioned before. We rolled, okay, what's the result? Broken jaw. So your bite fails because you can't use your jaw well anymore. You have a broken jaw, take some damage. This did not calm the bunny.
No. No.
And at this point, this guy is pissing his pants. He's just seen a cart of people rock up, and this bunny on top of it's leapt down and tried to bite him, and he's just instinctively tried to kick it away and broken its jaw, and then all of them have drawn weapons.
Probably has rabies. You know, raving rabbits?
We had little
That's what it
squishes
was.
a moment
No,
ago.
it was raving rabbits though. That's basically what happened.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But we did have little squishes.
We did have
as
little
well.
squish.
Yeah, he was sitting in the back, stealing Shun's money.
Yeah. It's fine. I raised him well.
That's different.
Yeah, no,
It's not quite a derailment. That
do
could
one
turn into a
about-
separate thing.
We'll do one about NPCs that became big things. So you
Yeah.
can do Little Squish, you can do Annabelle, and you can do
Go.
Duncan the cart driver.
Oh, freaking Duncan.
Duncan is a beautiful man.
Anyway, so at this point, the rest of the party decides this man has to die or be apprehended. Some of them want him dead, some just want to capture him and talk to him and work out what's going on. He
Yeah.
doesn't want anything to do with them.
I just wanted to be fixed.
Yeah.
Not in the sexual way.
I was going to say, give it enough time, it may have happened.
yeah, you bunny.
Yeah.
Um,
I was a good bunny.
So, what happened next is the bunny tries to bite him again. Can we roll initiative? And he's level 1 commoner. He has 12 dex. Now, this guy didn't have a single stat above 12. He had 2 12s, the rest were 10s, and 1 8. He had 12 dex, and he had 12 intelligence. That was it. Anyway, bunny tries to bite him.
Yeah.
Another attack of opportunity. Hits. Stops. and misses with the bite. Does more damage. He then tries to leave. Gets an attack of opportunity. She misses him. And his 11 AC.
Yeah.
He gets into the cave a bit.
I was distracted
boy, yeah.
by my broken jaw.
At this point, most of us had gotten off the cart
Yeah.
as well. I was super keen to chase him because I was a monk and I had a lot of movement speed.
Yeah. And so he begins to run.
It was calm.
The rest of the party charges up. Some try to attack him, miss. Others try to grapple him. He gets attack of opportunity.
Others
This
run into
guy-
walls.
He hurts them.
Run into 3 walls.
This
That
guy
comes
is
in a
just
minute.
like
Oh,
a
that
master
happened
of
in the
escape.
cave, didn't it?
Yeah, that is in the cave. This is still at the entrance of the cave as he's trying to get away.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean,
And so two people successfully attempt to grapple him,
well, that was me though, because I was a monk and I
Yeah.
had a really good grapple and I was really excited.
and he breaks out with a nat 20.
Yeah, he does.
And then you rolled a 1 on the attack of opportunity and
Yeah.
fumbled as he runs away.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did.
So this level 1 commoner sprints off into the darkness. Now, he has an item. It's not much. It's literally just grants dark vision, 10 foot.
Did he buy it from the supermarket? Is that what he got for his groceries?
No, I rolled to have a random minor item on him. So you know, if you guys kill him, then you get something.
Yeah.
They didn't.
No.
So we were gonna get
Well,
something out
Yeah,
of it.
if you did kill him, you'd
Instead
get
we
something.
got months of torture.
Hey,
Oh, it's more
that's
than months.
subjectives. So he runs in. Now he knows this cave. This is where he's been studying. So he runs in, takes a turn, avoids the few little traps he'd set up in case pesky adventurers had come to uncover his study and
Yeah,
annoy
I
him
mean,
again.
He'd come here to get away from him.
Yeah.
Get away from the hustle and
Exactly.
bustle of towns that frown on necromancers.
And so he'd run in and disappear.
Yeah.
The party chased him. Some decided to stay back, light a torch, and then move in. Others decided to charge into the darkness headlong, running as fast as
I wasn't gonna
a
let
monk
him.
could
I
charge.
wasn't gonna let him get away.
Yeah. You had like 50-foot movement.
Mm.
I did. I did have 50-foot movement, which meant I walked all the faster
Mm.
when I suddenly stopped because there were walls in that cave.
Yes, and one of the traps was literally just a spring-loaded wall. And so she ran full pelt, hit a wall as it launches into her. This hurts the monk.
Yeah, it did.
As the monk crumbles on the ground, then stands up, keeping calm,
Oh, I'm always calm.
always calm.
You
Um,
will saves for these, didn't
yeah.
I did. I specifically decided I wanted to make will saves for him to remain calm.
And the rest of the party started to slowly come up. Not before the monk had triggered another trap and gotten hurt again and remained calm yet again.
Mm-hmm.
And then he began the exploration of the cave. They began to spread out, hastily trying to search for this guy, while a couple of them remained at the entrance to the cave in the cart in case he came out.
I was not one of those people.
No, you sat there
I was
and
out.
fixed your jaw manually over about 12 seconds
Yeah.
before you finally started to
then-
go in.
That's
Then
pretty
I was
bad
out for blood. Like, this guy, in my mind, was responsible for my inability to heal myself as well. And he'd just broken my jaw. Nah, I was having none of this.
And
Time
so,
for murder.
Yeah.
about an hour later of this party searching through this cave, every nook and cranny, they found a couple of the secrets in there, but they realised it was all just dead ends. It was almost like it was set up
Everywhere I
as a
ran,
dead end.
just walls.
Yeah, there was one room where there was just a large open expanse. Turned out all the walls in there were spring-loaded. That was fun. And thus, the monk remained calm. So later on, they find this room. And it's a fairly small room, and it has a hole in the ground and a hole in the roof. They look down, they look up. They see the hole in the roof leads to another small platform and a bit of light streaming in. They see rooms around the base,
The elevator.
and they're like, wait, hold on a second. And they started calling out. Now at this point, they didn't know.
I mean, by calling out, you mean shouting obscenities.
It's the same thing, really. And so he was up there and he'd heard them. And he didn't want to hear them. So he used a scroll of silence on himself. No, it was deafness.
Deafness.
Yeah.
He deafened himself willingly to stop himself from having to hear them.
Permanent deafness.
Yeah.
As well.
Like,
He was actually deaf for about the next 3 months of in-game time.
wow.
Wow.
Go me. High five.
I'm just saying, what is that?
five?
No, that doesn't deserve a high five. I don't know that I've ever been annoyed enough
If
to.
you heard some of the
to
obscenities coming out of the bunny's mouth,
Yeah.
you too would want to be deaf
Pure young
for 3
boy.
months.
Was!
Was,
It
yeah.
ended that day.
Yeah, I mean, he had a lot happen to him.
Yeah,
as
and
well.
like
Seen a lot
this
of
is
things.
this is a bunny of Fistandel, the ancient of life.
Life and healing.
And
Your life and healing.
to
and
me,
death.
he took that away from me.
Hmm.
But no.
But you did lose that afterwards
apparently
anyway.
murder wasn't the correct response to that. Apparently.
Apparently,
Don't quote me on
bloodthirsty trying to eat him and bite him
I didn't
was
try
not
to
the correct
eat him.
response.
I just
Okay.
tried to bite him. That
rabidly bite him.
was- yeah, that was the best means of grappling for me and putting me down.
It was
that.
slightly
Probably
against.
a vegetarian.
It was slightly against the code,
Yeah, a little bit.
and so
You just get his
our little
cards.
bunny Apollon was in trouble and lost his abilities. He was grounded for a few months until he got
Sandal was like,
until
you
he,
go back in that corner and you think about what you've done.
no more rabid bunny. And then the bunny went and
That didn't stop the rabbit bunny.
Yeah, we're bunny. That's another story.
that's a different story. But yeah, so Jonathan, this little commoner, at this point, out of rolling, he rolled a total of 13 dice. 8 of them were natural 20s. The others were all above 15. Every single dice roll they made against him was less than a 10. So I'm like, I need to do something. He was either supposed to, they were supposed to walk past and ignore him. They were supposed to have a polite, a nice conversation, and he may have given them some information about people he'd seen. Or they were going to kill him. One of those three things was going to happen. It did. None of those three things happened.
No, that's right. I made the party wait for like an entire day for him
Yes.
to come down.
Oh, that's right. Before you went in there.
Yeah,
That's because you guys camped out.
yeah.
Now up in his little room, in his study room, with the magical elevator, it was set up by runes. There was food, there was water, and there were books, and that was really all he needed. He had a bedroll up there, and he was set. So he stayed up there. He did not leave up there for quite some time. About 3 weeks of in-game time, mind you. Then he ended up leaving. These guys,
Got groceries. Yeah.
these guys ended up. Oh yeah, he dropped it because he had to run.
Man, that sucks.
Because I mean, there was a savage bunny coming after
Yeah.
him.
And so these guys eventually went back to town. Now they're still traveling by car at this time, so it takes a bit of time to get from the mountains back to town, talk about things, and then they found out something else, and they started coming back. They got help this time.
Yeah.
Now they got back to that mountain, coincidentally, about 3 days after he'd recovered from his deafness. And at this point, I had to flesh him out a bit more. I had to do something. I'm like, okay, he's been attacked. He's prepared a little more in case they come back. And so what did I do?
They come back.
They come back. At this point,
Sisters.
he was a level 5 wizard.
Oh boy.
But what I'd
Learning
done
like crazy.
was I basically, worked out the gold he'd have from his escapades and invested it, all of it,
PC.
except for about 1,000, into scrolls of high-level spells, like Wall of Force, and other things. He didn't know how to cast all the spells, but he had the scrolls in case he needed them. Boy, howdy did he need them. So they went up, they ended up finding the old necromancer's lair that he'd been using. Jonathan had moved up to it. He's like, wow, this is a whole heap of stuff that I can use. The other guy's gone. I can make use of it. Those adventurers shouldn't be coming back, hopefully, up to here. They already came from here.
Yeah. Look, I mean, if I was in his position, I'd do the same thing.
Yeah.
Reduce, reuse, recycle.
Exactly. And so that's what he did. Turns out the old necromancer was making flesh golems. So he was like, I'll try my hand at this and see how it goes. It didn't go too well. He didn't manage to make many. The ones he did kind of make were rejects, and they didn't really function properly. Now, they beat things okay. One of them he made that was very strong, and it could hit things really hard. It didn't do what he wanted it to. Just kind of attack the closest thing. And so he had to cage it up. And so that was some very cat and mouse things. Then the other one was very small. It hit kind of hard, but it was very fragile. And he ended up, that one, unlike the other one, did what he said. So he had a little setup going. He was quite happy. These guys storm up, kick in the door, start working their way through the old necromancer's setup. And Jonathan, who heard them, started panicking. I'm like, okay, how's he going to handle this? Now I rolled a dice at this point. He was either going to freak out and try and leave. He was going to try and fight them off with false bravado, or he was going to try and bluff them that he was not who he really was and was more powerful than he actually was. That's the one that we got. That's the one he tried. Unfortunately, every time that he tried to bluff them, it just made them more mad. And so when they got to a room, he prepared walls of force, every single scroll he had, set up in this room to make that large maze. And he was like, this is fine. They won't get through. I'll be sitting up here. There's actually no exit to the maze. The last part was just a flat wall of force. I'm safe. Then they came in, and he threw a couple of other scrolls that he had out to try and dissuade them from coming further. This didn't. This only made them more mad, except the monk, who remained calm. So, eventually, the walls of force started to run out of duration. They don't last very long. His bluffing worked a little bit, and then they started to disappear, and people started to make their way through the maze and wonder why the walls weren't there anymore. And he's sitting there, trying to keep his cool, as he knows this last wall of force only has 18 seconds before it disappears. Now, he thought this was going to basically be, when it, gets down to a couple of seconds left, he's going to sprint off, close the door, lock it, and keep going until he gets back to the inner sanctum. At which case, hopefully the flesh golems will deal with them. And then he can just leave and wash his hands of this whole thing.
He'll need to wash his hands. Maybe flesh golems.
Yeah.
Dirty one.
But, so the wall of force ended up ending, and, he got kind of caught up in an argument with one of the players and lost track of time. And so the wall of force ended. Someone ran forward and punched him in the face.
Was that also Benson?
Yes.
Yeah.
The nerd?
Yes, the nerdy wizard.
Wizard nerd.
The nerdy wizard nerd.
Good friend
punched him.
Ignis, wasn't it?
Yeah, Ignis.
Yeah, this is early
back at
days
the
Ignis.
Wow.
Yeah.
And
See,
so...
even then he was still charging into the front lines and trying to beat people up.
Yeah.
Yep.
Level
As wizards
6 or
do.
7
Yeah.
at the time.
Low level.
Yeah.
Continue.
So, he gets hit in the head by this other nerd and starts to freak out.
It's just a nerd fight.
Basically. So he runs. The nerd swings again, cracks him over the head, drops him to about 6 hit points. At this point, he runs through the door, closes, locks it, just as planned. Goes to the next door, opens it, closes, locks it, just as planned. Goes to the next door. Realizes he doesn't have the key for that door. It's just an open door. So he closes it. And then he casts Minor Image to make it look like there's a lock on there. And hopes that it works. And then goes and sits in his chair and takes his potions to heal himself back up to full. Not much, but it's better than nothing. Now this chair was a chair left here by the previous one. It was a swivel chair.
I forgot about this one.
And he sat at the desk, freaking out, wondering what to do. Now, he did have a scroll of Dimension Door, which he had as a backup. So these guys barge in through the first locked door, search the room, find a small secret compartment, and take a few of the things. They then go to the next door, kick that door down too, run through, and then here they find a few examination tables. Tables where flesh golems were made. Bodies were still on there. It looked pretty gruesome. But it painted Jonathan in a very bad light, which is fair.
It didn't help his cause at
No.
all. Like,
I think at this point there wasn't much redeeming him in our eyes.
Yeah, he was pretty,
I mean, there was later.
Now, just to clarify, Jonathan is only neutral. He's not evil. He just wants to learn and practice away from others.
I've seen his character sheet. I can confirm this.
Yes. And so, at this point, he hears him crash through that second last door, and he's freaking out. He's sitting on the chair going, what do I do? What do I do? And at this point, I'm at a will save. If I failed the will save, he was just going to freak out and try and Dimension Door out and just leave. But he passed it. I'm like, okay, he's going to leave it to the flesh golems and see if they help. So, continuing the act, they don't even try to open this door. They just kick it down. So the illusionary lock does nothing. The door collapses and the lock fades. And at this point, he's sitting on the chair. He spins around.
Oh.
Yes.
Alright, where?
Just like that. Just... yeah. Turns around.
With the flesh golem.
Looks at them.
Severed head.
And then laughs maniacally as he says, "Welcome to my lair. Now you'll have to deal with my pets." As he hastily fumbles around for the buttons to open the cages. Now, combat starts here. We roll initiative. The cages open. Yeah, he got first round, which meant he was able to find the button and open it. And the cages opened. Then the flesh golems rolled. Now, one of them was big and lumbering. He could only move 10 foot around, but he could charge 20 feet. He literally just charged the closest thing. Thankfully, it wasn't Jonathan.
Thankfully.
The other one, however, he could direct, and so he directed that one to try and attack the nerd that hit him before. It didn't work out very well. The nerd actually managed to beat up the flesh golem over the course of the next 6 rounds. And so the party eventually gets to Jonathan, and at this stage, he's realised something. The chair he's sitting in was not a normal chair. It was a swivel chair. And so when he got hit on the swivel chair rolled away.
Oh.
So he's on it, and he's got sent rolling across the room. Now that first hit dropped him 12 hit points. The next time he got shot, took him down to 2 hit points. And at this point, he casts False Life on himself. Gives himself the extra temporary hit points. And then proceeds to throw, the best spells he has, like Magic Missile at people. I think he used Vampiric Touch. And he used Scorching Ray once. This was not much of a challenge. The players destroyed the flesh golems. One of them almost got dropped, but they had someone on there that could heal at this point. Not you.
Who was that?
Who was it?
I don't know, someone with a potion from memory. Because you didn't have Apple on here, because Apple couldn't heal anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't remember who Chloe was playing at this point. Was it Axel yet?
I don't think it was Axel.
Bard came before Axel.
It would have been Bard then.
Bard boy.
No, because my Bard didn't meet Jonathan before this.
Oh, that's right, he met on the cart later
Yeah.
on. Spoilers, that comes later.
Yellow paint.
Ah.
That's all.
Either way, somebody killed someone.
Yeah.
Someone heals.
Listen, I drew it.
People don't die. It could be actually, yeah.
What was Wizard?
Earth Genasi. Genasi?
No,
Genasi?
Genasi.
Genasi.
No, it was a Mifflin.
Oh, Mifflin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Oh, it was an Earth thing.
Yeah, I was.
I know her
Rocky.
name. I know her name.
Dude.
Continue. Yeah, I do.
Okay, so what happens?
Stories.
Jonathan, after his false life gets depleted and people start surrounding him, freaks out, grabs the scroll of Dimension Door. Dimension Door's 1,000 feet, one direction. Now I rolled a d8 to work out which way this went, because he was not very good at working out directions.
We were like
So-
Freeport, weren't
You were east,
we? Yeah,
the Thun Mountains,
that's right.
and
I
so
don't like those mountains.
he Dimension Doors
I have bad
far
memories
to the
there,
side.
other than this.
Very different though.
Yeah.
Dimension Doors far outside in an area he doesn't know. But he has his life. Barely. So he leaves. As fast as his legs can carry him. Which is not very fast, but it's fast enough to get out of there before the players leave that place. Now, they're all very frustrated because they went all this way and they did not kill him. He got away again. This time, they went back and they said, they told everyone about it, and there was search parties going out. One of the other NPCs they
Yeah,
knew
we
got
encountered
a,
them.
you encountered
Yeah.
Barak and his hunting party to get rid of that necromancer.
Isn't he the one we asked for help?
Yeah.
Like, get rid of that pesky necromancer.
He
Because
took
Barak's
some-
sitting there and he's just like, necromancers!
Yeah.
It's like his trigger word.
Yeah, Barak, some of you have met him, does not appreciate necromancy.
I don't
very
think
much at
many
all.
people do. Unless you're playing a necromancer.
Yeah, then it's a
You
lot of fun.
really, really appreciate
It's like, oh, I could raise that as this!
Yeah.
And everyone's like, no.
I did that with a dragon turtle one time, and then
That
I
was
nearly
fun.
had a T-Rex.
Yeah.
Not
it's a
fun.
good thing
Not
we stopped
fun.
you because you're evil.
Wasn't evil.
Touche. So,
Yeah, but
Wasn't talking
you're-
about your character, Darby.
we skip forward a while. Jonathan survives. They don't see him for
Again.
quite some time.
I'm still calm.
Anyway, he
I leave
eventually...
the party.
Yeah, the monk is calm, leaves the party to stay calm.
Yeah, I was like, to remain calm, I needed to
Keep
not
calm
be
and
part
leave the
of that.
party.
Yeah.
So,
Keep calm and
they go
reply.
and do some other things. A few things here and there.
Oh, mate,
Some
we're
of
doing
them
it
even-
completely
yeah.
different. Yeah. this
Some
is
of
a
them
whole
even
different
forget
story.
about Jonathan.
Yeah, we had half of a different party at this point.
Mm.
Sidrin was
This
still with
car
us.
with
Yep.
legs. Car with legs happened around here, didn't it?
Yes, but we'll bounce back to cut
so it was my druid.
Yeah, okay, yeah, that's right, because the drill was with
Yeah.
the legs.
Oh, was she the one in contract, was she?
So, the players are on a cart
Oh,
at
we're
one
here
point,
now. We've got a contract.
and a group of people, strangely pale people, come up and ask them a couple of questions. Now, Jonathan at this point, Jonathan is not a genius.
Isn't
He-
these the women?
He got smarter, yes.
We're just like, hey Jerry, how many of them are women? Because this is when you're
Yeah.
playing your bard.
Yeah.
And I made some
Bard.
rolls, because I
So,
hadn't quite
because
decided on
your
that
bard
point
was
yet.
like a womanizer.
Oh,
we
yeah.
were specifically asking, it's like,
Yeah.
Jerry, how many of them are women?
Yeah.
And so I made the rolls, turns out they're all women.
Yeah, and so we made some rolls.
Yep.
I have a habit of anytime I play a character, that character is steered by the D10 system.
Yeah.
More so when they're bards.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
World's okay, DM. Because you gotta put up with us.
And so, now Jonathan had, in his wisdom, not much, found a few people who were either dead or dying and brought them back. And then he had granted them essentially free will. Then he gave them an item that helped preserve, or at least appeared to preserve them.
I guess you got one of those.
Now what this did was he then had a few people who were not so much loyal to him, but knew that he was he wasn't a bad person, but he was asking them to do a couple of jobs for him that seemed pretty mundane in exchange for them being able to live again.
Yeah.
He wasn't restrictive. They were basically
Pretty
just,
good deal.
you can live, do whatever you want as long as you stay within X distance of me and go and do, a couple of jobs for me every now and then.
Look,
They were okay with that, better than dying.
It was a good deal.
Yeah. And so they turn up here and they're like, hey, is this, we're looking for, what was it, Ignis, Sidron.
Squish as well. Squish was on the list.
Oh,
They
and
were looking
yeah.
for a goblin.
Yeah. And so they didn't have names, they just
Bobby was
described
goblin.
them. Was that when you were Wizix?
Yeah, Wizix was there for the cartilage
Yeah,
legs
because you're
Yeah.
painting.
I had the paint.
Oh, that's right, yeah. Oh, that's right.
So I had a character who was a goblin cleric of Alton,
yeah.
Oh boy.
and they picked him up in Lightwind,
Yeah,
where he was
because-
swinging around the temple, and basically the head the head of the temple really didn't want him there anymore. So
Please take him off our
the
hands.
head of the church said, right, you're gonna go out and you're gonna help these adventurers, and you're gonna do us proud.
You're gonna stay out.
And then did
Please
the
don't come back.
stereotypical hand to the side of the mouth and whispered to the other group, we really don't want him back, please. Please don't bring him back. No, I was fine with that. Yeah. So, started adventuring. Now, Wizix was a painter.
Yep.
No, painter is a bit of a strong word. He
He
dabbles.
uses
He
paint.
uses paint.
He dabs.
Yes. Quite literally as a goblin. Yeah, I was travelling along with them at that point.
Yeah.
And so they turned up and they were like, hey, we need, gave descriptions of a couple of the party members. And was like, hey, we would like a lock of hair, a bit of a beard, and there was something else. And they were like, look, we just want a couple of these things and then we leave. We've been asked to just come and grab them. Apparently it wouldn't be much of an issue. Now Jonathan wasn't the smartest person. He wasn't very wise. But he was like, if I can get a couple of things like this, I can just scry on them and make sure they're not going to find me. He was paranoid at this point because the two places he had set up, they'd come, they'd found, they'd ruined everything that he'd worked on, and he had to go and start again.
To be fair, the second place that he set up was like literally down the road on the same mountain.
I mean, it was up the mountain at the top
It
of the
was
same mountain.
on the same mountain.
But I mean, he was hoping that you didn't return back to the scene of the place.
That was his wisdom shining
Yeah.
through there, I think.
A criminal always returns to the scene of the crime.
Got you there.
Yeah.
And so the party was very suspicious, which is fair,
Yeah.
and refused to give the items. And now,
A few of us got off the cart at
Yeah.
this point to try and negotiate with them. I was a bard. I was good with words.
yeah.
I can't actually remember who I was playing at this point. No, I do.
Oh?
Yeah, I was playing my paladin briefly.
Oh, that's right.
My paladin, Sanita,
Yeah.
and her lion, Lucille.
We'll get that. We'll get to that
No.
shortly. That's a different derailment.
Yeah.
And so negotiations didn't go too well, and it broke out. Did it break out in combat here?
No.
No,
Well,
because
it
I
was
was
about
playing
to.
my paladin Ashorai, so I was trying to keep the situation.
Right.
I remember
We
being
legged
really
it.
vocal in that
Oh, yeah.
We legged it.
Yeah, okay.
situation.
And so
right.
there was someone who felt. So we'll extrapolate on this later when it comes to that derailment, but for all intents and purposes, this cart grew legs. Long, fleshy, hairy man legs.
Yeah, we specified that.
And it ran about 300 foot every 6 seconds and just sped off. Now at this point, someone who's genius built seatbelts in. Not everyone had these on. Not everyone managed to hold on.
That was Andrew.
I
wasn't it?
wasn't in the cart.
Andrew had a
Yeah.
seatbelt.
No, you were because you fell out.
Yeah, no.
And someone
I started
tried to grab
trying to
you.
get back on as the cart took
Right.
off.
Okay.
That's right, you were still with the women.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When the car started moving
Yeah.
and you were like,
Um,
wait for me!
Darby tried to grab me and painted
Yes.
me.
So at
Andrew
this
wouldn't
point,
grab me because he was preoccupied with his friggin' cloak.
yeah. So in the cart,
was sure it was
Wizix
Seatbelt.
had a lot of paint. A lot of paint.
We're
He
talking
couldn't
about 12
carry.
pounds of paint.
He couldn't carry it, so he kept it in the cart. He was sensible. He stored them underneath. Now, he stayed on the car, and when these people approached and it looked like it was going to be a fight, he wasn't very good at combat. I'm pretty sure he'd used all of his spells for the day, and he didn't have a ranger. He had a sling. And his dog, his faithful dog, was on the cart. Wing Commander Doggo was good. But
Commander Doggo.
all he had was a sling and his paint pots. So he decided, I'm going to throw the paint at the enemy. So he grabs a paint jar, and it's yellow. And as we're taking off, he throws the paint. Now he fumbles and drops the paint, and it goes all over Andrew's character's cloak. Brand new cloak that he had.
Magical cloak.
Magical cloak, absolutely loved it. It's now coated in a thick, pure yellow of paint.
Yeah.
Now, Chloe was attempting to get onto the cart at the time.
The only person that could actually help me onto the cart was Andrew
Yes.
with his cloak.
He was
Who
currently
didn't help.
because he was too busy with his cloak being covered in yellow paint to help the other person on the cart.
Party member, cloak.
And so at this
Cloak which
point,
isn't like falling off the cart or anything. It can be dealt with later.
Yeah.
And so then we took off on the cart.
and left the bard behind
And-
with all of the women.
As we were taking off,
I mean, I was
Wizzix
only
thought
half
he would
complaining.
Wizzix thought he would throw another paint pot.
Yeah.
And he fumbles again, and as the bard was holding on, needed help getting onto the cart, and Wizzix went to go and throw paint at the people trying to grab a hold of the bard. So Wizzix goes to throw the paint over the bard, and fumbles. Clocks the bard in the face with red paint, which splashed red paint onto Andrew's character's yellow cloak.
Now, yeah.
Got the bard's face, and the bard wasn't too happy.
I was
and
pretty superficial.
Yes.
And
Andrew had one other chance to grab a hold of the
Narcissistic.
bard as the bard was falling off the back of the cart. And now his cloak is yellow and red.
All I
A
see
little
is
bit of orange.
red.
And so he couldn't possibly help the bard on with his red and yellow cloak.
Heavens no.
No.
Especially not when that bard was completely covered in red paint and he didn't want to get more on him.
Mm.
So goodbye, bard.
Priorities.
Have
Yeah.
fun with those people. You'll be fine.
Yeah. And so, the bard had fun with all those people.
he had fun with one of them, thank
Hey,
you.
you tried with them
No, I didn't.
to begin with.
No.
No, she went with one in particular because I remember when we showed up, we rolled some dice and we judged them quite harshly
Yeah.
based on appearances. So we'd already picked like the best looking
Yeah.
girl
Right,
out of the bunch
okay.
Yep.
from day one.
Yeah, there are some things I don't quite remember.
It was Sarah.
Like-
See, those are the
The
things that
name.
Sarah. That's
Yeah,
right. So
I remember
these
the
are
name.
I
things
remember
we
these
It's like
things.
I knew there was a
Ratings
main
for
one, but I
women.
couldn't remember whether it was all or just
Yeah,
that.
no, I didn't. I mainly went for her. I mean, I was nice to the others.
Yeah.
Because I was traveling with them now.
And because
Yeah.
you're not going to be mean to somebody just because your character's not physically attracted to them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I have done that with characters.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, you have.
Okay.
Woo!
And so
Ulysses is not
A
one of them.
mistake.
that was
yeah, Apollon is.
that was a while. That went on, and Chloe's character, stayed with them because their current companions had abandoned her.
You kind of joined that party, really.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I did. In all ways.
Yeah. And so there was a few
Everywhere.
things that happened. Anyway, they ended up going back to Jonathan, explained what had happened, and why they had a new companion with them. He was happy, had a new friend, it was fine. They got along like a house on
hadn't
fire.
tried to murder him as
Yeah.
well. He made really bad jokes.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Ulysses,
He made
like,
puns.
Yeah.
So bad. He
Yours
tried to make one in
also.
the middle of the area when the argument with Ignis.
Mm.
And then he got punched in the face.
Yeah, no.
And he was like, oh.
Ulysses has
Okay,
like
then.
terrible wisdom. I think so. You found him hilarious.
It was a good match. Anyway.
Sometimes I do good and well.
So that was all fine and dandy. And that was the last I saw of him for a while. Anyway, after the kerfluffle of returning back to Breeport, we'll get to that with the next
The
derailment.
rainbow stick.
I died.
You did.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll,
So did Andrew.
Seatbelt save
No, he
lives
was
and
alive.
kill
He
people.
was on 1 hit point and drank a potion.
Oh.
No, and then
Yeah.
the building
Yeah.
collapsed on him.
No,
he survived.
He lived.
And
That's
that's why seatbelts saved lives.
Yeah.
I just remember that I died.
Yeah.
I nearly got away with it.
Would have gotten away with it too if it weren't for you meddling kids.
Well, if it wasn't for people telling the truth.
How dare
Yeah.
they?
Do you know what actor I moved on to after her?
No, I do not.
Albie.
Ah.
That's when Albie joined
That's
the
when
fun.
Axel came in as well. Good old child harness.
And so what? And so what ended up happening?
Fuck, you don't have a
After a bit of time passed, they decided they would. Ignis was a high enough level and had scrying, and he was like, you know what? I'm going to scry on him. I'm going to find out where Jonathan is, and I'm going to go and kill him.
Can I exact revenge?
Yeah, and so Ignis scries him. I'm like, okay, I'll roll a will save. His will save wasn't terrible, but he rolled a low. I'm like, okay, he's failed. You see him in what seems like a darkened room. You know, seems to be drawing runes on the ground. Oh, all right then. I wonder where that is. And then he used a few other contacts he had and a few spells and worked out the location of this spot. Eventually, after scrying for several days, he found him walking into what seemed to be a secret entrance near a desert. And then, from a few landmarks and other things, pinpointed the location and was like, right, we're going to go get him, but this time we're taking a lot of help. So they went over and they got Barrack.
No, that hadn't happened yet.
No, that was this one, wasn't it?
We went back to get Barrack.
Oh, you went back.
Albie went back
Right.
specifically.
Okay, so they went to this area without the help yet.
Yeah.
They found the secret entrance. They went down
We
2
went to
hours of
Conjoc.
stairs.
We went to Conjoc first because we were trying to find Jonathan. We spent a solid amount of time looking in Conjoc because we tried to find the Pit of Justice. That's when that thing happened.
I also
Few
wondered
other things.
myself. Axel versus yours.
I grew a tree. I grew a tree in the Pit of Justice's house. I'm not sure that happened. No, that happened next time we went to Conjoc.
Yeah.
You
But
destroyed the
that still
house.
happened then. Then we went. Then we found out after spending a long time in Conjoc, basically dealing with this and that and whatever else, where Jonathan was. At which point we're like, oh, this is a big old place. This is really dangerous. And I thought to myself, there's no reason for us to go into this unprepared. We know where they are. I'm gonna go and ask for help. So me, being Albie, goes back to Breeport to go and get some help from some Silverhound friends, because Albie was a member of the Silverhounds. He knew the Barrack really didn't like necromancers, so he's like, hey Barrack, buddy, you want to come help me
Destroy
take down this
necromancer?
thing? And he's like, heck yeah, we're only moving now and my, significant other is heavily pregnant, but that's fine, we can drop everything and go fight this necromancer.
Hey, in and out, 20 minutes.
Yeah, in and out, 20 minutes. No worries. So he brought Barrack, Frampt, and Norton.
Yep.
Yeah, Norton
All three
was,
of them. So 3 very major members of the Silverhounds came with us because it made sense for them to come. They were
Yeah.
a much higher level than us.
Barrack
this
was about
point.
level 14.
Yeah.
Frampt was level 21, I think it was, and Norton was level 18.
He's a beast.
Yeah, he is.
Now, to give a bit of a backstory on the other two, so some people have already heard of Barrack.
Yeah.
At this stage, he's still a...
Bugbear gone halfling. He was a halfling at this
Yeah.
point because his lady was pregnant.
Yeah, that's a good point. So yeah, Barrack is a halfling.
Look, don't
He's
shoot.
essentially like a fighter. So then you've got Norton. Norton is a character that they rescued from a previous quest arc.
Norton is a very straight-laced justice man, okay?
Yeah.
He's serious. He has a well-groomed moustache. He only wears fancy clothes. And, he's basically the definition of like an ye-old knight.
Yeah, he's
You
literally
broke
from
many
Ye
times
Old.
when you were stealing his wife. Not his wife, but
His lady, alright?
Yeah,
Who
that's
is not his lady.
yeah,
That is a whole
Apple
other story.
very
yeah.
different. And Frampt is a mountain of
That's
a man.
why he's actually so uptight all the time, is because I ruined his life.
Frampt stands around about 8'4", and he is built like a brick shit house.
And he has a moustache. Not a moustache, a mohawk.
Yeah.
oh, does he?
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's got like a green mohawk. Was it green?
No, it was
It
just...
used to be green.
Yeah, it started
Just
off
changed
green
it.
back when he was a gardener.
Gardener. Frampt the gardener.
Yep. Frampt is gardener.
Frampt is gardener. Oh, jeez, what was that?
And so
I'll leave that to you.
they go along with the wondrous group to go and slay this necromancer.
Yeah, we jump on a big old doggo.
Yep.
Jump into the desert.
Yep.
Pop in, pop out. Drop everyone off.
26 done.
Barrack has a companion, which at this point was a ice spirit that had taken a wolf form, and it could dimensionally travel, teleport, things like that. So they jumped back straight
The
there.
kids off to school.
Yep, jumped out, And Barrack said, look, because there was the wolf couldn't fit in the area they were going.
Love
so
sweetie, we'll be back in 10 minutes.
basically,
That was to the lady, not the wolf.
Yeah,
Although
no.
he'd probably, actually, no, he'd probably.
I mean,
both
it's
of them.
yeah.
Which would he be more affectionate to? I'm betting the wolf.
Probably.
Yeah, probably. And
So we'll have a
so
marriage counselling
Next
session
up.
as well.
they all march down. The party all storms back down again. Another 2 hours down the stairs.
They're like, let's go.
They get to the bottom, and now this a bit of backstory is
That's right,
this
there's
whole
15
area.
Stairs.
This whole area was made by Jonathan as a getaway for undead who didn't want to be discriminated against. It was a citadel where they could be safe.
I'm dead.
It was built out to be an area, like it was a small town underground with large statues that had undead who had pledged their services to help protect the other kind.
I'm just picturing like a zombie in front of a camera in this documentary. It's like, yeah, I've always been treated differently. That's what I'm imagining now that you
I mean,
said it.
it's
that way.
honestly not too far away.
It's like a good version of Warm Bodies.
Oh,
I haven't
Yeah.
seen that, but sure. Wait, that was the Romeo and Juliet one, wasn't it?
That was sort of
it's just a romance. I don't think Romeo
yeah,
and
it
Juliet
was
are
a
romances,
weird
yeah.
spin-off of basically people who use phones as zombies, and it was like a weird movie.
Ah.
I
Yeah.
know this.
Okay.
I've seen half of it, yeah.
And so he set up this thing, and obviously these large statues that have had undead that have pledged their services willingly, where there were a couple of extra planar creatures, a couple of large creatures from the plane of shadow. Now, they had been asked, not forced, not bound, to help protect. And they had agreed, they were like, yeah, this is a good cause, I'm up for this.
Jonathan's all about that free will.
They weren't exactly always going to do it for free. Eventually their plan was to try to gather followers from this, but that was a long time goal. At this point it had no effect. Anyway, these things were quite large. They were basically set up to be a threat that the players needed to avoid. Basically sneak through the first town. Now obviously this was balanced out to their level, not the level of the NPCs they brought along. And so they marched down, and instead of avoiding these things and fighting a couple of small guys around the side and getting to the gate, they just saw the first statue and like, oh, that doesn't look good, let's go destroy that. And so
Massacre!
the high-level paladin, the high-level fighter, and then
The
Fram,
high level gardener.
yeah, the high-level gardener,
Yeah.
run over and they destroy this thing. Like,
Powder.
Norton is a paladin, so
Have you-
smite.
Have you ever
he's-
seen a brick like have like a lot of heavy stuff on it and it just goes?
Yeah,
Yeah,
there's
basically
that. And so these things died. They got destroyed. It took a couple of rounds, but they got destroyed. They went through and they do this to all of them. Meanwhile, Jonathan's watching and he's just like, oh dear. They destroy the second one. He's like, contacts everyone who is there, all the undead that are there, that they need to leave. Pack your things, come to his room, you're going. That's it. Getting out of here. Running.
The moral of Jonathan so far is every time we encounter him, we're higher level.
Yeah.
And we ruin his life.
Yeah.
And so what happens is, as these guys are tearing through the city, they get to the gate,
Ruined my life.
and then they get this magical message. It's just like, you shouldn't go any further. We have things and stuff to stop you. And then in the background they hear this packing of bags and moving of materials. And they call his bluff. And so it ends very abruptly with him saying, I can't be bothered with this. And then the magical message shuts off as he's throwing more things in a bag and basically tying it up and getting ready to go. Now these guys kick down the door with their high-powered help.
That was probably the wizard.
And they get in and they find this large marking on the ground. Now this is a binding. Now, with the location of this is very close to the no hole, which is possibly the biggest plot derailment that has ever happened in this world, but we won't be touching on that because that's this whole
It
separate.
wasn't really a derailment.
It was a very big
We
derailment.
can touch on it.
It was
briefly.
an encounter. None of us did anything to cause
No,
that.
I know, but it was an encounter that changed.
Yeah, but that doesn't count
So
as a
many-
derailment.
But Jerry-
Because we did not derail that. I will not be blamed for that.
I'm not blaming you.
Don't
I'm saying
blame-
it derailed
Don't blame
it.
Alvin either.
But Jerry, I created one, and Jonathan was like, I've seen this before.
Yes, because at that point he had experience.
Yes.
Now,
Explain
they kick in the
no-no
door.
hole, just briefly.
So the no hole is
Yeah.
a large series of semi-two-way portals to the far realms.
Big old hole in the sky.
Yeah.
Out in the desert near Konjuk.
And it's
Is it
not...
on the map?
Yeah, it's on the map. There's a little spot with 3 tentacles and an eye in the middle of the desert.
That's right. It's like
Lots of fun.
Cthulhu.
Oh, yeah, Cthulhu Land.
Yeah, and the Far Realms was a huge area based on Cthulhu and the mythos around that. Madness, creatures that mess with your head.
Probably don't look at it.
Yeah, don't look at it. It's bad for your health. And
I've
So,
wanted to look at it so
what
much.
happens is when Jonathan came here, he knew about this and he had to set up rooms to basically help protect the people inside here from that outside influence. The unfortunate side effect was to do this, he had to bind a kind of that creature into it to basically prevent. So that was what it was protecting against and preventing more of them from coming in. Now the party came along and they saw this thing and they didn't like it. And they looked at it and there were markings on the ground. They're like, we need to disrupt the markings to get rid of it and then we can send it home.
We were pretty reckless at this point.
Yeah.
Any time it involved Jonathan, we just lost all sense of rationality.
Yeah.
And
There were no
thought
inhibitions.
process. It was just what we see, we destroy.
Yeah. And so after a bit of a prolonged fight, Ignis lost quite a bit of wisdom as he got mentally assaulted by this creature. And Sidron decided to take his hammer and chisel to these magical symbols on the ground and destroyed the mark. Now at this point, he destroyed it after a couple of rounds of doing that, and he looked at me, and then now Sidron was being played by G, as some of you know. G just looked at me and was like, I've done it.
He
I looked at him.
really smug.
Yeah, he did. And then I
So smug.
put my head in my hands, and I looked up.
I feel like that's reasonable. I would have assumed that breaking that would have.
Oh yeah.
helped.
I mean, there were knowledge checks involved and other things they could have used to identify it.
Yeah, but as I said, we
Yeah.
smart when Jonathan's involved.
Yeah.
And so that happened, and portals started to open around. They saw eyes leering out at them, strange tentacles starting to slowly creep into reality as they tore apart the barrier between planes.
Let's leave.
And yeah, the party was like, that's bad. And they began to leg it.
Ran.
NPCs included. They didn't want anything to do with this either.
It
And
was
so,
like a massive flight of stairs, wasn't it?
Yeah.
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 And so everyone started running and they started to get
I
a bit
remember
fatigued going up.
I cast Spider Climb on about 7 people.
Oh yeah, because it's
Because,
faster than going up the
yeah,
stairs.
so we could go. We were just like going up the walls and everything. So there's enough room for everybody because
Yeah.
half of us are going
Yeah.
all up the walls.
And so they get up the top and they start running back towards the wagon. And because, this wasn't the predetermined time, so Barrick's Wolf Hat wasn't going to come back yet. That was going to come back later. And so they're running and they're like, crap, what do we do? Everyone to the cart. They start running.
Everyone get to the
And they
car.
see tentacles start to come out of everywhere. Things starting to chase them. Large creature and an eye begins to lurch out. And at this point, they hear this little whoosh.
I think he did pick me up because I have very small legs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
They hear a little whoosh next to them. And they look over. And then they see Jonathan and his entire undead crew running alongside them trying to get away from this thing. They had no idea what was happening until they appeared. They started freaking out and running. And at this point, Sidron just screamed out, look, bad things happen every time we encounter each other. Screw the past, get to the wagon. They all piled in. Jonathan, the undead, the party, everyone's in there. They go to take off. Now, they use one of these coins.
We chucked a sick reverse.
did the coin come
Yeah.
from the Temple of
Now-
Alton?
No,
Ludamara.
Ludamara, which we'll get into more detail on that.
Flex.
But these coins,
Do we
you
need
flip
to?
it,
I don't think we need to.
on heads, they make you go forwards. Their cart grows legs and they go forwards. No, that was different.
Yeah,
This
no.
one wasn't
you
the
flip
legs
the
one.
coin, and
It goes as
if
fast
it lands
as
on
it
heads, it goes 4 times as fast as normal, I believe.
Yeah.
And if it lands on tails, it goes 4 times slower.
No, it goes 4 times as fast. Backwards.
That's right, yes.
And so they got a tail and it started going back towards this beast. And at this point, G looked at me, he's like, crap, wait. Can I do a car maneuver I know of? And try and basically steer it backwards so then we're reversing and turn it? And I'm like, look, sure, make a ride check. Roll
Get
a
out
natural
in the
20.
street,
That's
get
why
in
I
your
don't have
car
a
and try
license.
it.
And so he literally
never get
turns,
started.
like reverses, spins around and starts tearing away from this creature. They're using Ignis, who's sitting at the back of the cart, basically directing as to which direction to go, while Sidron and Jonathan are sitting up at the front, looking at this giant creature that's storming
With
towards
the
them.
swivel chair mounted, because
Oh,
when we
yeah.
first encountered Jonathan with his swivel
He
chair,
stole the sword.
the party took it as loot.
Because
Yep.
Because Sidron put it
Yeah.
up the top. It's like a little
Yes.
crow's nesty
Yeah,
thing.
for his,
on top of
heavy
the cart
crossbow.
So that he could use the crossbow and rotate as he's like.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically.
And so they speed away. Anyway, a large portal opens up in front of them. And at this point, everything goes quiet as Ignis utters a prayer to Bacob in the last moments before they hit it.
I think his exact words were,
during this period
I
of
know
time-
you don't care, but if you could do something...
No, it was like,
would
if
be
there was
great."
ever a good time to care, it would be now.
Yeah.
And so,
But isn't this when, this is the thing, oh, was that when, no, I'm trying to remember, when Cthulhu parted the sky, and there was tentacles, and we all had to make a heap of will saves?
Oh,
I just remember, because
yeah.
Andrew's character in
Yes.
particular, we all saw this thing happen. You know, we rolled some plot checks. Whoever looked up actually had to roll a will save versus it. Andrew's character, I think he was, I can't even remember who he was playing. He was playing the rogue, I think.
half-orc rogue.
It was a half-orc rogue that was playing more like a barbarian.
Yeah,
so
he
it
was
was
very
a
much in-
rogue, like a I'm gonna steal your money rogue.
Yeah,
as
he was a
opposed
thug.
to a he's a thug rogue. So I remember he looked up at the sky, saw this thing, and everyone's like, "Oh no, Andrew, what are you doing?" He loses the ability to feel fear.
We got madness.
We rolled like the effect, and he lost the ability to feel fear, and so his instant reaction to that was like, "Well, I glare at it," and it's like, "What are you doing? Why would you?" He's like, "I'm not afraid of it."
Yeah, and so that ended in
And
some interesting
he
effects.
lost quite a bit of his mind at
Yeah.
that moment, I believe.
Yeah, he was quite unhinged after that.
With good reason.
Yeah, and so after the prayer, Bacob thought, well, I rolled some dice. I'm like, okay, Bacob doesn't quite save them, but saves them from that fate. So instead of going to a random part on the Far Realms
Because
through
was
this portal,
basically like, if I'm gonna help, I'm gonna get something out of
yeah,
this.
exactly. So he dropped them at a specific point of the Far Realms. It was like, hey, there's some objects here. I want them. You get those for me, and I'll take you back to the material plane. And I mean, that was a better deal than they had before.
True.
And at this point, I wrote
like
up
the
a whole
concept.
system and borrowed some elements from other systems for madness, for having the party, basically what they had to do is they had to maintain their defensive base, as well as have enough people to go out. Each character gave defensive bonuses if they stayed behind.
We had that many characters at that point because of
Yeah.
all of the NPCs and everything that we got to pick and choose which characters we actually played on the
Yeah.
missions
Yeah.
out.
Like someone could even play Frampt or Barrack if they wanted to. G, for example, ended up having Sidran stay back and help defend because being an
Played Norton,
artificer and
didn't
that. No, he played one of the undead ones, the
Ah,
magic
there you
missile.
Yeah.
He basically
That's
jumped
right.
around and just fired off magic missiles, and that was interesting.
One of the
No,
ladies.
they all gave certain benefits as well. Like,
Yeah.
we couldn't have...
There was a couple you couldn't have there at the same time.
Yeah, like...
Yeah,
we
because
couldn't
they hated
Norton
each
and
other.
any of the undead.
Yeah.
Witness gave a bonus to anyone that loved dogs.
Yeah.
There were all sorts of good things. Yeah, it was actually very cool. We had this like entire system that you made based on our characters in particular and the sorts of things that our characters cared about. Like Albie's infectious optimism gave people like less sanity loss if
Yeah.
he was there.
Whereas Jonathan's things was bad humour. So anyone who
Stayed behind with him.
stayed behind with him and had above a certain intelligence would essentially suffer morale penalties due to the constant bad jokes.
Yeah.
All the undead would get benefits, but
Bad
Norton being the paladin, if he was there with any of the undead or Jonathan,
He'd have killed
everyone got morale penalties, and there was a chance
the
that he
morale
would
penalty.
attack
It's
them.
called death.
Well, that came after. If he got to a certain amount of morale penalty, then he'd basically just turn on them.
Oh, savage.
There was a lot of
Good man.
details
Evil.
there.
Yeah. Look, they weren't. My dad was a good person.
Undead.
Oh,
Sorry, we gotta put you down. I know not discrimination's wrong, but you gotta die because you're undead. That's the reason.
And so, long story short, they went through and they did all these quests. At one point, there was a feeble-minded flying Sidran. That was actually hilarious.
He picked up my dog. Wizix's dog
Yeah.
was trapped, and so they thought it would be a great idea to pick the dog up and go flying around. So they were flying around, and the dog was freaking out. He was basically held under the armpit of Sidran. Was it Sidran? Yes. No, it wasn't.
No, that was with Vasil later on at the fort.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that was A.
That was when he was dubbed Wing Commander Doggo.
Yeah,
No, I thought that happened.
No,
No,
that
no,
was on
no.
Nevermore.
That happened.
That's right. Yes.
And
Sorry.
so, at this point, what happened was they found this object and they worked out they could only pick it up
There are 3 options.
from someone who was mad.
Isn't it?
Yeah, for this one
Yeah.
in particular. The only person that could hold this was someone who was insane. Someone who had succumbed to madness. Now, at this point, there were several ways that people could have been, and I expected more people to be suffering from madness at this point.
Mate, we planned who we had at the base and who
Yeah,
went out
it was
really
good.
well.
And so at this point, they had no one that was insane. And I'm like, well, every time you try to touch it, you take mental damage. And like, okay. So Sidran stopped hard and looked at Jonathan, because they took Jonathan with them on this quest. And he was like, Jonathan, I need you to feeble-mind me. But don't laugh. And so Jonathan smirked and agreed. And he's like, okay, but once we get back, you've got to promise to take this off me. And he's like, yeah, okay, fine. But I will laugh. And so Sidran accepted.
Yeah.
And thus Sidran was feeble-minded and had 1 intelligence, wisdom, and charisma, and was granted the ability to fly, as he acted like a giant, dwarven bearded baby, and swam through the air to grasp the item before being coaxed back to take it back to the HQ. And that was when Sidran spent the rest of his time there, rocking backwards and forwards, being told not to play with things. And that was why G played a different character.
I mean, he didn't put him back to normal?
He couldn't until they were out of there. They needed to rest, and you guys didn't want to sleep.
Yeah, that's why we didn't want to sleep. We're in the Outrealms.
Yeah, that place is dangerous.
Outrealms, man.
To know.
And
Ooh, thank you.
so they got their 2 other objects.
Yeah.
The last one they needed to get.
The second one, I remember fighting something. I don't know.
Yeah, you had that was when it
I don't know.
was.
Yeah, that was Agnar.
Did he have the item?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. And so they end up saving someone else who becomes important later,
Yeah.
i.e. in the current plotline.
Important.
Yeah.
Depending on
Who'd
who
been
you
sent to the
ask.
Fire Realms,
Now we lost
As a
25%
punishment.
of his mind.
and these guys found what he had turned into. Now they found this, like, essentially what was a raven creature, but it still had its mind mostly intact.
Yeah. My character was already pretty damn insane at this point.
Yeah.
I remember I think I was the most insane, not including Sidran at this
Yeah,
point.
you're at like 40% out of 100.
No, it was more than that.
Was it?
He got to 75 levels of insanity. He had a lot of things wrong with him.
Yeah.
He
Because
still
I
does.
had it all on. Yeah,
Yeah.
still does.
This is when I started harnessing you.
Yeah, this is Albie. He's my little halfling
Yep.
spirit shaman. Yeah, Chloe's character. Chloe was playing a fighter named Axel at the time, and you had like clothing or something you could make, craft
Yeah.
clothing. Haberdashery, I don't freaking know.
You were a
But
tailor.
basically made a child harness, like a baby harness
Yep.
for Albie, so he was like carrying Albie around. But yeah, when we went, this was before the
Literally
harness.
a pocket healer.
Yeah.
was
before that, and yeah, I had the plushy Albie as well. So I had an Albie in a baby harness, and then another baby harness on Albie with the little plushy Albie. Thanks, Pulver. Anyway, but before the harness happened, I was free for the second object we got with the thing, because I remember specifically not being afraid
Yeah.
of the I would probably wouldn't have been afraid of it anyway. He doesn't have much.
Smarts.
No. He has plenty of smarts. He doesn't have.
The natural fear instinct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I meant the self.
Preservation.
He doesn't have self-preservation.
It's a wonder he's lasted this long.
Yeah.
And so eventually they managed to save this person and give up.
Yeah, it's because he was this big ugly looking thing, and I'm like, well, like, how do we give him a new body? We don't know how to do that. And I was like, oh, hold up, I have the spell reincarnation because I'd used it quite a few times at this point. On other party members, actually didn't come up that often, but once or twice it had. And I was like, okay, this might work. But I'm also looking at this thing, and I'm like, this guy is obviously someone who's been here for a really long time. This is some sort of big NPC thing that's happened ages ago. I doubt this is going to be just solved with reincarnation.
Right.
But we're like, it's worth a try. My character, he's
Yeah.
a nice guy. He wanted to help this person. And so, and also he had the thing we needed.
So it was
But, yeah.
basically set up to either fight him, convince him to give it to you,
Yeah.
or do this.
Or try and help him. Yeah. I
Two
was
birds,
like,
one stone.
dude, that's it. Literally, I think it was a stone or something. Yeah. So we
Two albies, one stone.
2 albies, 1 stone. That's it. There was 2 albies. Yeah. So used drink. We actually, it took longer. No. It was an hour period. It was only the hour time, but I remember it being more dramatic than that because we were in the far
Yeah,
realms.
people
like
were basically
everybody else
trying to
has to
protect
station
Albie
around protecting
while this
Albie
was happening.
while he's trying to reincarnate this big
We had to
ugly
kill
looking
him
thing.
first, didn't we? That took some convincing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it took some diplomacy, but Albie and a few of the other characters were like quite charismatic.
Yeah.
So we did it.
And at this point, he was pretty down on his luck, so,
Yeah,
you know.
he didn't have any options. So he did that. And then he came back. Albie like passed out or something. And this guy came back as an orc, missing an eye,
Yep.
missing a hand,
No.
missing a leg.
Yes.
Yeah. Knew it was something.
Missing something in
Yeah, he's missing a few things.
Yeah.
sanity.
Now, what had basically happened there was she cast Reincarnate on him, but because of the energies around the area and what he was previously, interacting with that energy in any way, especially while trying to bring it back to life and being with it in close proximity for an hour, has its effect on your mind. So Albie permanently lost 25% of his sanity, which had other small effects.
That popped it up to 75%.
Yeah.
But that one was permanent.
Yeah, so that was a permanent delusions of grandeur for our little halfling friend.
Yay!
And he had come back in a body, but using his power, and it was quite powerful, he basically shaped it to be what he was. And that's why it didn't come back as a young orc.
Or whatever else.
With
it
all
might have been.
his parts.
He could have been a gnome.
Yeah, it could have been anything.
Could have been funny.
And so he ended up standing up
Could have been
and
an elf.
thanked the party and ended up helping them out for the rest of this. Basically working together to try and escape.
He became my buddy.
Yeah.
He doesn't know yet, but we're buddies.
Yeah.
One-way friendship.
Unrequited. So mean.
And so they get back and now they go off
Yeah,
to the next
Albie's
part.
still really crazy at this point, but we take him along because he's the only healer.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he was very important to keep around, and this is when you made the harness. You're like, Albie, you can come, but only if you stay in the harness.
Yeah.
I'm like,
I didn't
"Ooh,
want you
cool."
hurting yourself or anything.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it.
It was the safety of the party.
Yeah,
And you.
yeah, no, I
secondary.
appreciate that. Don't get me wrong. Albie was a little pouty at the time. You know, he just needed a nap.
Yeah.
And so they go for this last one. Now, this last thing they needed was the essence of madness.
I remembered that.
There was a large keep on an isolated block of land that was floating in the middle of nothing.
Jeez, that looked
Ethan
ominous. Wasn't it
was
like
really
huge?
helpful for this because he had the knowledge
Yeah.
about this?
He basically
Yeah.
guided them through because he'd been here for so long. And so they got their way there. And now this area was like
Very
the
tall, wasn't it?
parapets, yes, it was around about 300 feet tall. Now this had been set up as something that was this was basically setting up to finish the entire area. This was going to be a 3-tier dungeon. It was going to take 2 to 3 sessions.
Yeah, because we've
couple
been
of
in the
bosses.
fire realms for like at least 2 sessions at this
Yeah,
point.
this was the 4th session you'd been in there.
Heck, man! That's a
And
long time.
so-
Long time intervention.
We had a whole lot of things up there. There were parapets, the soldiers, suits of armour, everything laced around. These guys go up to the front gate.
And Albie had this thing, okay? This is a prior.
you explain this.
Albie had this thing where he's a very polite boy, alright? And he doesn't like barging into people's houses. He thinks it's very rude. And he has this rule where you should always knock. Once or twice this has made things good happen. Once or twice this has made things bad happen. An example of a good thing was this one time this tower appeared in the middle of the desert. Everybody's like, let's break in. Albie's like, no! Knock first. That's so rude. So he went up and he knocked on the door, and we got this magical item, and there was a note. It was all like, good, be polite. That's good.
Politeness shall be rewarded.
Yeah, politeness should be rewarded. And I'm just like, yeah, see what I mean? An example of when it made things bad happen was when I knocked one too many times and we released a demon.
I mean, that wasn't just because of knocking. That was because
Yeah,
of other things as well.
But it didn't help. We were being very polite to that demon, to be fair. But yeah, anyway, in this situation, we're going up to this giant keep. We're like, this is a big old dungeon. And at this point, I remember you were like, this is going to take a really long time. Do we want to stop the session here?
Yeah.
Because it was already quite late. And we're like, nah, we'll go into it. And then we'll sort of, find a safe room somewhere and we'll sort of stop there.
Yeah.
Because we wanted to play for a little bit longer.
Yeah.
So we went up to... There was a set of gates first.
Yep,
Were there guards at the gate?
There were huge portcullis. There were not guards at the gate, but there were guards on the inside.
Okay, yeah. But did we just barge into the gate? Or did we knock on the gate?
you knocked on the gate and
We
you
went up.
started talking.
Somehow Albie convinced his warrior
This
friend.
guy, yeah.
Yes.
Axel was on my side.
Yes.
Axel was a very reasonable
Convinced
boy.
Axel to go up and let him knock on the door.
Well, I mean, Axel...
You came with me, didn't you? Like, I was in the harness the
Yeah.
entire time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Axel's a good guy.
So we went up to the gate, and I knocked on the gate, and I said, Boy Scout cookies!
Now, the character they're currently coming to get the essence
Oh,
of
no,
madness
just
from.
get the guards up first. I mean,
Okay, we'll just get the guards.
the guards came up.
Well, yeah, the guards came up.
I specifically remember the guards, they were confused.
Yes.
But I remember
There was a halfling in a harness.
there was a
offering
halfling in
them
a
Boy
harness
Scout
offering
cookies.
the boy. I don't know if they knew what Boy Scout cookies were.
No, they did.
Yeah, I didn't think so.
They were
but
creations.
I did the whole thing where I was all like, oh, I need to, talk to the owner of the house. You don't want me, you don't want to get in trouble with him because he found out that you were stopping him from being able to buy some of these delicious Boy Scout cookies that have been made by Boy Scouts.
It did look really pathetic because he was in a harness attached
Yes.
to my
And
fighter.
like these guards here, they were not people. They were pieces of a fragmented mind. And so there was things like gullibility, aggression, deceit, spread out amongst these guards, and each one had a different shard of
Is this
personality.
guy gullible?
No, this guy was, what was it?
Inept.
Well, I mean, that happened. But no, I can't remember. I think it was just polite.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
See,
And-
it's always polite to knock.
And so, after that, they convinced the guard to go and get the master
They
of
let
the
us
castle.
into the gate.
Yeah, they let you into the courtyard.
I remember being in the courtyard.
Now, at this
At
point,
this point, we're like, shit.
The rest of the party, most of the party was
Yeah.
still outside the gate.
Yeah,
I told
yeah.
them to stay there. I'm like, don't worry about it. We got this. You and me, buddy. Let's
Yeah.
go.
and now in this courtyard, there were several guards. All of them, well, when I say guards, I mean
Just,
like the suits of armor.
Nod, smile.
They had drawn bows and arrows pointing down,
This
and they
is
were
fine.
waiting in case something happened.
Nothing's gonna happen.
Now, the Lord of the House comes out,
Wait, no, we made the cookie.
Not yet. We didn't.
and
Did we?
We went back for the cookies.
yeah,
We did.
That's why.
And
he's
so,
still out there.
the Lord of the House comes out. Now, this is the guy that were after the essence of madness.
This is the boss.
This is the boss.
The boss just came to the front door because we knocked.
Yes. No, because he was called after you.
Yeah, but I mean,
Now,
still.
this guy was
This is
insane.
Direct.
Everything he did was supposed to be erratic, didn't make sense,
That makes two of us.
and he
Same vibe,
was very much loopy. While every decision he made was on a whim. So whenever someone asked something, I would roll a dice and work out which personality sort of came out and how he reacted to it. And so we went through the first few, and they were mostly agreeable. A little crazy, a little kooky, but agreeable. And
Would you like some Boy Scout cookies?
and of course, he
My
wa-
sir, they're the finest Boy Scout cookies you will ever find in all of the Far Realms. All right.
and he hadn't eaten
Yeah.
Boy Scout cookies in years. Like this guy, he was an actual human, and he'd been here for far too long, and had happened upon the essence of madness, which gave him the power that he used to survive and create this castle and all these suits of armor. And so he really had a hankering for cookies. I'm like, okay, roll. What was it? Roll a sense mode? No, it was a bluff because you didn't actually have any cookies at the time.
At which point I was like, hold up, no. We're gonna get some cookies for you. Don't even stress about it, mate.
But there was a roll involved, and he rolled a 1 on the opposed check.
It was probably just a diplomacy. Because he wasn't.
an opposed check for diplomacy.
You sure?
Yeah, 100%.
Because I never lied about the cookies. I was always intending to
No,
get him cookies.
I'm pretty sure you said because you mentioned that you're Boy Scouts and you have cookies,
Yeah, I'm a Boy Scout.
and that was what the bluff was because.
Got cookies.
And then he rolled something low, and then he just rolled a 1. I'm like, okay.
I remember rolling diplomacies, but I don't remember rolling any bluffs because I was never intending to. I was fully intending to follow through on this deal the entire time.
Thing was, you didn't have any cookies at the time.
Yeah, but I already knew that I was going to make cookies from the beginning.
Either way.
She had the intent.
Yeah.
There was a 1
I had
involved.
the magic.
And so he's like, sure.
Either
what
way,
do
it
you
was
want?
unlikely.
And so they wanted 1
I
essence.
said, I was like, I think that this one plate of Boy Scout cookies will be worth approximately 1 essence of madness.
And like, they tried to barter half of it.
No,
3/4.
12 cookies. Okay,
And-
all of it.
Yeah, and eventually
These are the
he
finest cookies
he
you'll
caved.
ever have
He
in the
caved
Far
when we
Realms.
offered them as choc chip dinner.
Oh,
Yes.
that's right.
Yeah.
And
He
so,
asked me what flavour specifically, and I was like, double choc chip.
and at this point, they head back out.
Yeah,
They
I was
head
like,
back
alright,
out.
I'll go get your cookies, we'll strike this
Yeah.
deal.
And so they go over, and the only real spellcaster here at this point, because
Jonathan.
Ignis, Benson wasn't there for this
Benson
session,
wasn't there
was
for
he?
this one.
Yeah.
And so they look at Jonathan, they're like, hey, can you make some cookies? He's like,
I need you to make me some cookies. Use like some spell, some
Yeah,
magic.
and
Make
so
me some cookies.
he uses prestidigitation to just make some very fragile, flavourless cookies.
So
and
they
he
have to
uses
have choc chips.
prestidigitation, uses the effect again to grant them flavour.
Give it all to little choc chips.
Hands it over,
Perfect.
and they take
I
it
say
in.
thank you. And I say, Axel, take me back in.
There was a moment of wait, let me do something else. And then we went back in.
That's right.
And then we go
Go
back in.
in.
It's like, so, sir, here, you give me the fragment of mind first.
Yep. So
Right, we make the transaction at the same time. We're like,
begrudgingly, he gives it over, not quite not understanding his actions at all.
yes. We take the fragment of mind and say thank you for your patronage. Please call us anytime you need more Boy Scout cookies.
And they
Wasn't he planning on
Walked
tasting one? You
calmly
said,
out.
no, you have to get back
You have,
to your...
it was-
you have to get
you
back
have to
up.
have it on your own. Like, that's
Yeah.
the best way to experience it.
Yeah.
I didn't want him to share them with his guards.
Yeah.
I think I said something about having them with milk and maybe in front of a fireplace.
Yes.
That makes
Yeah.
sense.
You convinced him to head all the way back to the top of his tower
Yeah.
before he ate any.
Yeah,
Maybe that's where he rolled the one.
Maybe.
I don't know.
Either way. So these guys have
Either way, everything worked out better than expected.
Yeah. And
I
as they
remember making sure to walk out normally and calmly.
At this
Yeah.
point, it's been about half an hour in
Whereas
real time
Albie's just
Yeah.
very
from when
chuffed with
this
his
is going
sale.
to be a long session.
Yeah.
Half an hour later,
We have avoided the entire dungeon that Jerry has built up probably over many hours.
4.5 hours of planning
4.5 hours of planning
and writing.
gone
Oh.
because we knocked on the door and sold the Boy Scout cookies.
And now I looked at it. I didn't want it to end this way, but I looked at it and I'm like, the dice rolls. There's so many ones. There's a couple of 20s. The guy doesn't have. He's not all there. He doesn't have any rational thought. He doesn't understand anything. He's just a loony. He was supposed to be a monster in combat, but nothing else.
But we never got there.
Never got to there. And so they're leaving. They start walking away, and they start to walk away
We
quite
were like,
hurriedly.
well, we got all 3 things we need. Let's start this
And
ritual.
as they're walking away, they hear this bitter, furious scream come
And
from the
Jonathan
castle.
just like
Yeah.
bursts out into laughter.
Yeah. And the scream yells out, "Raisins!" And that was when the party started laughing and they began to run a little faster.
Albie did not laugh. He was very mad at Jonathan.
Oh,
Because he wanted to provide good customer service to his first ever customer.
well, that's a pity.
yep,
Ugh.
Jonathan strikes again.
At which point, I never outsourced any cookies. I make them all myself now.
We learnt how to bake.
You did, yeah.
But yeah, and then they got back from the Far Realms.
Yeah,
So,
sure did.
the next time a party encountered Jonathan was a separate party altogether. And they were trying to rid
You guys are smiling. I think
Soru.
you guys know what's going on.
of the undead menace.
I'm gonna go get a drink.
They ended up encountering Jonathan, who had been captured by some of these undead. And basically said that he wanted to help the party get rid of them because this lich, these vampires, they were giving necromancers a bad name.
I mean, he wasn't wrong. They
Yeah.
were.
And so
He was
if
being
you
overrun.
you would like to describe how the
I wasn't
encounter...
there for the
You
actual
weren't there for
encounter. No, I missed that.
Oh, that's right, because you messaged me afterwards.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
so
I was,
we
like,
were...
flipping my shit. I'm like,
Jonathan's undead minions had been captured, and we decided, okay, well, the fort that they're held in is on the way to our next mission. Let's go. So we walked over there, and we went in through the back ways, and we rescued Jonathan's companions. And they got to a rather large, nasty, dirty fight.
So, a couple of the people in the party didn't approve of Jonathan and ended up attacking him. Now, Jonathan being, at this point, a lot smarter than he used to be, and take a lot more precautions than he used to, and being more powerful, had instead a copy of himself. It was essentially a magically infused flesh golem that was infused with illusion magic. So it could shift at will from being invisible to being visible. And he always had this near him. And so the moment anyone started a combat, he would activate Mislead as a contingency. What Mislead does is it leaves an illusionary copy of yourself exactly where you are, doing an action of your choosing, while you become invisible and you can leave. Now what he did was he used that, moved away, and then had his duplicate move into the exact same position the image was in. And so when Mislead vanished, the other thing would become visible, and it would be just like fighting a real thing. So the party dealt with that for a while, frustrated the fact that it wasn't dying, as he kept talking from around the room. Eventually he left after seeing them destroy it, finally.
Such a cocky scumbag. I love him.
And in the end, they ended up very begrudgingly working together. There was a couple people in the party specifically that did not like him.
This was where the no-no hole popped up again.
Yeah, and so our resident wild mage opens up a two-way portal to a random plane from a wild surge. We hate wild magic.
We love it.
And so what happened was this random portal opens up. I'm like, okay, we'll work out which planet it is. So
No, it wasn't that. It was there was one of the results, and it was a slightly modified version of a homebrew rule set of wild magic, which was based off of the wild magic in Baldur's Gate and Neverwinter Nights. I believe.
yep.
And one of the results I had modified to basically what I intended the result to be. It was a very high roll. So basically on the Wild Surge table, there is a percentage roll to determine what is affected. It's either the spell, the target of the spell, the caster, the environment, or a special table. And now on the special table, I then rolled a 96%, which what I had intended was basically a portal tears open and a giant eye stares out at everyone. And basically you have a staring contest with the eye, and if you lose, you take a butt ton of wisdom damage, but if you pass, well then you've got your mind intact.
Yeah.
So we ended up just saying, look, instead of doing that, we'll just have it be the no-no hole. So I go cast a
Basically
spell,
the same thing.
and I search. And up pops a portal.
Good.
And Cthulhu's eye peeks through.
And good
And
old.
it's a 360-degree portal. It's basically like a 2D image, so you can see it from any direction you look at. It's like a video game with a 2D sprite.
It's curved screen.
It always follows you. Yes. 360-degree panoramic view that the eye pops out.
4K, 1080p.
Yep.
Sphere.
And then Jonathan just goes, oh no, and has a bit of PTSD.
And so in his moment of, oh, it's happening again, not again, he had, after last time, prepared some emergency actions. And so the moment this opened up, he stopped the fight, stopped what he was doing, stopped the spell he was concentrating on, looked at the portal and was like, no, not again. Pulls out a spell, cast spell, it starts to close, sits there for the next round as he basically focuses on closing this hole. Now the fight's still going on around him, he even gets shot in the back, he just passes concentration and just keeps closing the hole because he doesn't want to deal with that again.
Yeah, that's fair.
No one else in the entire area had any idea what this was. So when you wild search, you don't know what's happening. You just know that your magic didn't do what you wanted it to do.
Something's going wrong.
So we're all fighting and we're like looking, going, what the hell is going on? And we're staring at it. He's like, no, don't. Stop. Everyone just stop. Let me deal with this and then we'll get back to killing each other. But no one was like, I'm not going to listen to you. Clearly, you did this. You're just trying to stop it. And everyone was throwing allegations around.
It was an interesting fight because it was the party, Jonathan, the boss, and his minions. It was almost a three-way fight. There was a few people in the party that trusted Jonathan to the extent they weren't attacking him. There were other people in the party that wanted to attack him. They were just a little preoccupied by large undead knight or the actual boss, as one of them was just sitting up there beating the boss in the face for like the entire combat.
So the boss was way up high on a platform. Think like extremely large stairs for a colossal being. It was like 30 foot up to the next platform, and there was 3 of these platforms. So a druid, I believe, wild-shaped into something that could climb up there, and then started having a one-on-one fight with the boss. And everyone else was sort of sitting there going, I can barely get up 30, I can barely get up 10 foot, let alone 3 sets of 30-foot stairs.
Yeah, now there were stairs beforehand, like linking these two parts up. But at the very start of the fight, the boss didn't want the stairs. They didn't want people to be able to get to him easily, so he just pressed the button and activated the runes that lowered the stairs into the ground.
Yeah, Vandrin was constantly just trying to create Wall of Stone because he was a Wallomancer.
Yeah.
He just specialised in casting walls,
Like, ramps up.
and he just built a tiny little stairway, 5 foot wide, of Wall of Stone, just going 5 foot up, and then 10 foot up, and then 15, and just making stairways up. So we're all trying to clamber up this one 5-foot section of stairs. while
Just one
our
big party.
druid is up there pretty much just taking negative level after negative level. He was getting hit by, I believe it was a special stick.
Oh, that was an enchanted weapon. So,
Yeah.
when wielded by an evil creature, it not only dealt extra damage, it was essentially an unholy weapon, but every time it hits a good creature, the good creature needs to make a fortitude save or gain a negative level. Now this doesn't sound so bad. The DC of the fortitude save was only 18. It's pretty easy at this level. By this point they're at level, what, 11 or 12?
Higher than that. Vandrin came in at 11, so we're about 13.
Yeah. So, most of the people in the party can pass that fairly easily. Oh, right, okay, so there would have been about 15 or 16 at this point then. So, the joys of only failing on ones, but this guy was making 3 attacks around. And so the druid was just slowly getting chipped away. The rest of the party eventually got up and that fight was over. But then they went through, they freed Jonathan's friends and then they parted ways quite quickly. Jonathan was also happy to leave very quickly because some of the people in this party that were looking at him with murderous intent had him a little on edge.
One of the people in the party that was looking at Jonathan with murderous intent looked at everyone with murderous intent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, most of Jonathan's life as an NPC has been getting looked at with murderous intent.
Yeah.
Yep.
That was like when we met him. It's like, hello.
It wasn't even that, it was just
Angry
a moment of
bunny.
silence. Just,
I'm not even sure the moment of silence happened.
It didn't. It was just, I saw him.
I think his
the
reaction
car.
was turning around to the bunny scream, just
But yeah, so that's the story of Jonathan. What started off as a level 1 commoner, a throwaway NPC for a bit of a laugh encounter, turned into that.
He's now
He's still around.
doing some things in the background, which you may
What
hear
level
about
is he
later.
now, Jerry?
Pardon?
What level is he?
16.
That's like more than most.
He's
of our
about to venture somewhere
Yeah.
he never intended to go.
Yeah, that's gonna... The story continues.
We're gonna abridge some of these new stories, though.
Yeah, we're gonna have to cut some of these down. So,
Yeah,
next
we'll
up.
pick out the best ones and abridge them.
Okay. Fist down.
I
Okay,
don't
the
understand.
name.
The name of the
So
game.
you can
the
set
game
this
of the
one
name.
up. I'm gonna go to the loop.
You go to the loop. You go to that one.
Let's
Yeah.
take a card and the name connected.
No.
No?
No.
No.
One of them was kind of like a direct. Okay, we'll just go with the name first.
Okay.
The only thing you need to know about the name. Okay, so in the first big party that we ever played, this is not including these two. Jerry was there. He was still DMing. So you've met some of the characters. If you watch any of the other Histories of Pethuania episodes, especially the first one, you'll know the original party that had Jay Marlin, the Goody Two Shoes Paladin, Wyvern Jack. So this is the Wyvern Jack Enterprises party. So we were basically going around on this quest. We were awakening ancients. At this point, we weren't 100% sure why we were awakening ancients. They were just like, yeah, this is a good thing. It's great. We specifically, we all followed our gods. We had individual gods that we all worshipped. I, being a paladin, I worshipped Heronius. I was a very devout follower of Heronius. It was a big deal.
Very pious.
We got to meet them pretty early on
really?
in the quest. Yeah, we actually got to meet our god. So this was a huge freaking deal for all of our characters. Each of our characters had to like prove themselves in front of their god. So Blah, who was playing a cleric of Cord, the god of strength, he was basically like, I'll fight you. And Cord's like, all right, I'll make a little avatar or something for you to fight. He fights it. Blah loses pathetically, like in front of his god. Like this is the biggest shame of his life. A couple of other people, I remember Josh's character. He was playing Kree at the time. He worshipped some minor god of weather, and Jerry's like, can you worship one of the big ones? Like, please. So he ended up being convinced by one of the gods, I actually can't remember which one, to worship. Oh, it was Palor, actually. I think it was Palor initially, yeah. So his first character started worshipping Palor, because I remember he got sweet sunlight powers. And of course, Jane, he worshipped Heronius. He saw Heronius, he was like, he basically, knelt down, got down on one knee, had this big moment where he was all like, Heronius was like, all right, so what do
He
you...
was on one knee.
No, he wasn't about to propose. It was head down, all right?
Right. Okay.
And Heronius is like, all right, so, how are you going to prove yourself? And James basically pledged himself to the cause. He said, I will do whatever it takes to save this world, even if it means giving up my own life. And, you know, Heronius, obviously being a god, could see the sincerity of him saying that and how much he meant it. And, you know, he held true to that. So we got all these blessings from the gods. This is the important thing. Kree had some sweet blinky hands from Palor, sun powers, just like headlights. Yeah, basically. Blah was stronger, maybe. It was caught. I don't freaking remember. G got no idea. This was a really, really long time ago. James got a halo. He got a sweet halo. It was good times. You know, Heronius. No, did the halo come after the divine intervention?
No, it was during.
During the divine intervention. Okay, so that was later. Either way, met Heronius. Great guy. Recommend it. 10 out of 10 on Yelp. So
On Yelp.
Yeah. So we got these blessings of the gods, basically. Yeah, and later on, just as a minor fact, James died for the first time. He got his head chopped off by a golem, which is impressive because it's a golem. And as his head got turned, this is the first divine intervention we actually had, I believe, in the entire party. So I didn't even know it was a thing, and G was like, "Oh, roll divine intervention." I'm like, "Okay, I don't know what that is. I'm just sad my character died." Rolled it, got like a 2% or something, and I was level 3. And yeah, got divine intervention. His head went back on, and he got a halo. He got a sweet glowing halo to, you know. It was like, boom, my purity, my innocence, my divinity, you know, it was all very symbolic. He was very proud of that. You can go past, Joe. You just have, oh, you're eating.
I was
eating mango or something.
That was like a peach.
Peaches.
Oh, peaches, yeah, alright. Either way, we had these blessings. James was visible. We went on a heap of other quests in between, you know, became squid. There was a justice squid and a shark and a eel and this great, crazy underwater adventure where we all turned into aquatic animals.
I'm so mad. You guys know how badly I want.
Oh, yeah,
This was
no,
a
we
long
did
time
all
ago.
of the aquatic campaigns before you joined the party, like a long time. Soz.
It's a long time ago.
And also, you didn't get to stay with what you were. I was a squid.
G was a clam.
G was a
It had a pearl.
That's right.
Wyvern Jack for the clam.
And he had a pearl and he was just sitting there with his pearl. Oh my goodness. Yeah, we were all literally, like, we could have been useful animals, but most of us were very non-useful animals. Like, we could have been sharks or like a barracuda or something, but none of us were. We all got really, really lame animals, like squid.
One person got something useful.
Andrew did, but he showed up at the end of the session. He got like a small shark,
Right.
but he only showed up at the end of the session by the time we were
Mako.
almost done. Yeah, Marco. So, yeah, we do all these other quests, basically, leading up to this thing. So, was Fistandor the first ancient or the second ancient?
No, Fistandor.
Technically second.
It wasn't the part of actually getting to Fistandor.
No, it was, we were already there. We got to Fistandor.
Yeah, you talked to him.
I just
and
can't remember why we were there in the first place.
Okay, so
Oh, was it the archaeologist who
Yeah.
told us to do that? Yeah, the archaeologist. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
yeah. So
It's pale. Not freaking pale.
so they
No wonder
go through Fistandor.
It's great at freaking joining. Yeah, okay.
They keep on talking, and eventually Fistandor tells them that where they're going, they are going to fight a foe that is beyond them. But all they need to do, once they're there, is to invoke his name. Fistandor.
Okay, but let me tell you something real cool. While we were in his place, I was getting my paladin mount.
Yep.
Okay, so these guys are off here having some discussion about something maybe
Important.
remotely important.
Lot
Somebody else
relevance.
is taking notes, so it doesn't matter, okay?
Yep.
Freaking whatever. I'm spending my time getting my paladin mount because I've been saving it. I've been waiting until we were somewhere really cool.
Yeah.
Now we're in like Fistandor's realm. We're up in the skies. I'm like, freaking give me some.
We
sweet
run
mounts.
paladin mounts a little different.
Yeah, magical paladin
So
mounts.
rather than just taking them from the book, like you can choose to do that if you want, or
Summon a horse.
you can wait and find one.
You have
Now
to take a
it's-
seat for it though, don't you?
Yes.
Yeah.
So you find a mount that is
You
different,
find a displacer
unique.
beast.
Yeah, you could
And
find
you say,
anything.
get out of here, you creepy looking cat.
Based on where you are.
Turn that displacer beast around away
Yeah,
twice.
yeah.
Same
So-
one. Twice as many tears.
So you can potentially, if you take this feat, you can find something and you can find something unique, and it can function like an animal companion. So it can just be around you all the time, rather than having to summon it for a certain amount of time each day and stuff like that.
An excellent picture for this. this.
And so...
Not for Taddy.
Oh, okay.
This is for later.
And so, Paladin and the Rogue are off the side talking about, you know, the animals that are coming through and, oh, this is so exciting. Meanwhile, on the other side, the rest of the party is having this important plot relevance conversation
It was
about
me and
how...
Cree. We were over there.
About how
sorry,
they need to...
Hugh at this
Yeah.
point.
Hugh. And so they need to invoke the name of Fistandor in front of this foe, which is essentially Korath's current host, which was Cree.
He's the
which
big
was-
bad guy. Alright,
Yeah.
he was Josh's original party member, Cree, basically got taken as Korath's host. But so we're just, at this point, we're like, yeah, there's no saving him.
Yeah.
I tried to solve that problem by saying, there's a sphere of annihilation over here. We could just... But apparently that wasn't a suitable...
No, that would...
I'd find
That would...
I still think that was...
That would destroy the form, the body, not Korath.
Yeah, but
Then he wouldn't have a body to go.
Yeah, but once he was out, the body was a prison. He wanted to be out of that body.
Apparently.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I still think Korath should have gone in the sphere of annihilation.
You're stupid.
And so what?
Whatever.
The party ended up going through this huge dungeon. They fought their way all the way through to the
Oh,
end.
yeah, no, this is the important bit. Because specifically for Standor said, and I also wasn't paying attention to this bit at all, was that we could call on him, because, I don't know if you know this, but the gods and the ancients don't really get along.
Yeah.
And it's a little bit iffy with us, worshippers of the gods, freeing the ancients, which is very specific because it had to be a worshipper of the gods who freed the ancients, because the ancients were put there by the gods.
Think Titans and the gods from the Olympian pantheon.
Yeah, so we had to be the ones to release them. It had to be somebody who worshipped the gods, which was slowly deteriorating because every time
Everyone's
we
turned over.
released an ancient, someone else was like, "Heck, I'm worshipping this guy." And I was like, "You filthy heathens." But yeah, we released Fistandor. It was all good.
Yeah.
And he told us once we're out of the eyes of the gods and we're facing Korath or Korath's current form, we need to call his name.
Yeah, invoke his name and he'll come and basically
Yeah.
help.
So we went through this
Deal
whole freaking huge dungeon. And I remember we all thought we died. Yeah. But there was this water puzzle or something like that. And this water was rising up. And I was like, oh no, I'm going to drown. And we all like drowned, but we didn't. Because we woke up in a dark room. And all I remember was that my halo was gone. And I thought I'd done something wrong.
No. And
I thought I'd done something wrong. I thought I had done something wrong by Heronius, and this is a picture I've drawn of James. Here you go. I don't know if you can see that, but you know, he was very upset that his halo was gone because I thought that I had failed Heronius somehow,
but
and that we'd screwed up.
in actuality, this area was just unreachable by the gods or their power.
Yeah.
And so divine things didn't function
Out of
here.
the eyes of the gods.
Yeah.
See, it's come back round.
Ooh.
But I wasn't paying attention to that. So,
And so they went through and they
I just thought I'd screwed up.
they found a prophet of Korath who they then fought. And they bested, but he did drop a couple party members. Now at
Yeah,
this
he
point,
did.
not the entire party was there. A couple of people had to go because it was getting pretty late.
Yeah.
And the other ones that knew
The only
been
two
listening.
people that were left.
had been dropped. One was
Yeah.
dead and one was dying.
The only people that were left alive were myself, James, and Hugh.
Yeah, the two
The
people who weren't
guy
paying attention.
who was sitting with me, helping me find my mount.
And so they go through the next door.
So we go into this room and we see this guy. He's really gross looking. He's got boils and scars and scabs, you know,
Yeah.
general diseasey biz.
Sitting on the throne.
And we're like, what are we doing here again?
Yeah, and so he starts monologuing and they're both looking at each other. I'm just trying to draw this out to give them as much time as possible to say what they need to say.
It's like, we can't fight this guy. Why did we come here?
And so this went on
Do we
for,
have a reason?
like, I can only monologue for so long. And so I tried to keep it going for a solid 5
I
minutes.
do remember he specifically asked us, you know, give me one reason why I shouldn't kill you right now.
Yeah.
And I'm like, because that'll be more boring for you.
Yeah.
We were at a loss.
And meanwhile,
As
G
what
is sitting
to
on the other
do.
side of the table. Like, G knows.
Yeah.
He knows the thing, but he can't say anything because he's dead.
It did get to a point, like, you sort of meta hinted at us enough to the point where we were meant to say something.
Yeah.
And we're both sitting there like, I have no idea. I was going through all my notes. They were mostly pictures.
Yeah.
And I'm just like looking for something, anything. He's written nothing.
Yeah.
And G is on the other side of the table, literally banging his head against the table. I have never seen him so frustrated in my entire life. And this is G we're talking about.
Yeah,
He's
no,
always
it's-
frustrated.
Glitter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Literally. It was worse than that. Like, he was actually like, he looked like if there was a knife or a gun there, he would have killed either of us. Just
Yeah, like
Boom.
you know,
Possibly
he doesn't have a
both, with
whole
one
lot of hair.
bullet.
You know, he had his head shaved. His entire head from here up was just bright red as he batted his head
Oh
on
my
the
god, I
table.
thought you were gonna say he had hair back then. That's when he lost it all.
But yeah, and he's just banging his head on the
Balding.
table, and he
Course
stopped,
of 10
looked
minutes.
at me
That's
with desperation in his eyes, and he's just like, Cherry, why? I know this! And he just looked at the other two and he just started flailing and yelling
he
at
was
them.
like
And,
fuming,
it was kind
frothing
of,
at the mouth.
it was frustrating for me, but it was also kind of hilarious.
Because the entire plot was coming to
Everything.
here. It had culminated to
Yeah.
this point. We were supposed to do this thing, and this is where that arc was supposed to end?
Yes! Yes!
So you know how all
Yes!
that bad stuff happened with Korath? This is before that. This is before any of those terrible things that happened to the world. Like literally, I think 3 or 4 people had gotten sick at this point.
Yeah.
And one of them
it
was
a small,
Cree.
Yeah, it was a small outbreak in a single town.
Oh, all the hobos. The hobos. The hobos in the house, in the hobo house near Flibbleton.
Yep.
They all got sick.
And then
And
Cree did.
they also stole our tomatoes. So
You heard it here first. Hobos are responsible for
they weren't responsible. They were just the first casualties.
Yeah, that was basically to show people how
Yes,
bad the disease
that was.
was.
Oh no, there's a disease. This giant diseasey rat came
And
out.
so what was supposed to happen
whole
at this
story,
point was I was supposed to invoke Vistandor's name, and he was going to come down, and then he was going to basically weaken Korath, force him out of the vessel, and then the party would have to fight the vessel, which
So,
at this point was about their level.
Would have been the paladin and the what was he?
Rogue.
No, he was the boat person. This is Buffy.
Oh!
Huge iceberg.
Yeah, so
Huge iceberg.
they were a multi-class swashbuckler
Yeah,
rogue.
swashbuckler. Just beating on this thing like
And-
final boss.
Like the final boss at this point would basically like Vistandor when he arrived would have brought back to life everyone who had died
Of course, he's for
because he's the god of life, and then
Ancient.
the final ancient of life.
good.
As the final battle begins between Korath's host and the party, while Vistandor and Korath fight in the background, causing terrain effects and other buffs, and Korath spewing plague over, Vistandor erecting a small shield in an area the players had to get to, stuff like that. It would have been a really cool fight,
Yeah.
but that didn't happen.
Didn't happen.
And instead, the 2 people forgot to invoke the name, and
We forgot one name.
so Korath instead, when they said it'd be more fun to keep us alive, it was like, yeah, I guess you're right. All right, bam.
Let me just. Do you have the champion stuff in here? Oh no, it's not in there.
No.
Okay, so I don't know if any of you guys know this, but if you've ever looked at the information for Champion of Vistandor, can I just get it out? I'm just
Yeah.
I got my
Yeah.
phone right here.
So
Tell them something else.
I can
tell
just
them a
tell.
story.
I can just
Okay,
say
you
what it
just-
is.
you say.
So there is a certain power that you get access to, which lets you heal at a range without using the reach meta magic feat, as
Yeah.
long as you know and can invoke the full name of the target.
Yeah, that was a jab at us. That.
And so
That's the most shade Jerry's ever thrown. Just right in there.
instead
No, I
of the
think you should
campaign
have
coming
taken
to an
shots.
end after what was it, 6 months almost?
Of campaigning.
Yeah, up to
Yeah,
that
at
point.
least.
Instead,
At least. It took us about
it
a year to get
continued.
that whole thing done, like.
and I had to work out what I was gonna do instead of going on to the next campaign I had planned that was gonna start up. It would have been nice. It would have been peaceful
Yeah,
little
because it
campaign.
was like that was a big campaign.
Yeah.
I was like, oh boy, are all campaigns this big?
No, it was supposed to basically the next one was going to take them
That
through
one.
the desert, introduce them to a few other races. One race that recently got revealed because it
So-
hadn't up until this point.
Does that mean we wouldn't have awakened all of the other ancients?
No.
Because we only
Yeah, there was-
awoke Vistandor.
There was going to be a quest involved basically for each of those over the course of the next several
So yeah,
campaigns.
the rest of those ancients wouldn't have happened. I'm still angry that we awoke all of them. Oh, we shouldn't have awoken Murs.
No.
Nothing good came of that.
I mean, it did.
No. Nah, we could have killed
So,
it without it.
what happened with
You don't
Murs-
have to tell me about that. We'll bring that up in another one. Like
No,
when we
I
actually
was
talk
going to bring
about-
up why.
Yeah, I know. But we
bringing
can
him
bring
back
that up
up.
in another campaign.
Yeah,
like when
okay,
we're
fair
actually
point.
talking about that campaign.
Yeah, we'll talk
still
about
haven't
that
done that.
So
The only
instead of having the campaign end there, it then continues for another year almost.
yeah, it took us
Yeah.
about a year from that point out of game.
Half the world's population died.
Speaking of
Yeah.
that other derailment that happened briefly, we were meant to go to this ancient library. We were going to the library to find out a way to do an underwater campaign. we were trying to make an underwater submarine thing.
Yep.
It was pretty cool. And we're like, okay, this isn't the sort of technology we got. We got to go to this big, fancy, ancient library that only shows up on the material plane once every 300 or so years.
Yeah.
Yeah, my memory's pretty good. For useless things. So, yeah, this thing. And it was going to show up at the very end of Esme, near... Was it at the very end? It was near Redlin, where that is now? I remember it was in the very tip of the shoe of Esme.
Yeah, it's that line between the little, there's a little lake between the pond and the ocean, right near Halstead Hall.
Oh, okay, so it was in the literal end of it, the little ping, the that.
Yep,
of
the
end of
that.
Esme.
The that.
No, the this, see?
The this.
It's connecting.
The this.
That ping.
That?
Yeah. Yeah. It makes sense to me. Alright, so there was a thing there. We were in Lorasic at the time. Okay, we were in Flibbleston and they moved us to Lorasic. Lorasic is where Breeport is currently. Yeah.
So.
That one wasn't my fault.
Now, when they got this.
Oh, this one is. I'm talking about the Lorasic to Breeport thing.
Oh,
that wasn't my fault.
The 40
This one was
foot tall
definitely
moose.
my fault.
So.
Yeah,
that's. So with this. At this point, they need to travel across the continent.
Yeah, because like I said, it shows up only every 300 years in the material plane, and it disappears. It was going to disappear pretty soon.
And so
3 months, I think it was.
I was like...
Was it 3 months or 6
no,
months?
it was 6 months.
Yeah, okay, it was going to disappear in 6 months, so we had tons of time.
Yeah, and I'm like, okay, well, because you guys are in a hurry, you know, the NPCs there that are currently helping you, they gave them scrolls of teleport. They described the outside of the thing, and they said, here, use this, go there, get the information, then come back. And then we'll have the information we need to complete this task, and then we can go on to trying to solve this problem.
So at this point, we had quite a few, well, James in particular had quite a few moments in his life where they had almost all died. There were quite a few very close party wipes that ended with 1 or 2 characters surviving.
Yeah.
So he was like really concerned about things. So he saw these scrolls of teleport and he thought, whoa, these are really freaking valuable. We didn't have any like high level spellcaster that could teleport or anything at this point, because blah wasn't high enough. And we're like, okay, we're gonna save these for a situation where we really, really need them. And because this isn't, you know, like a really desperate thing, we'll get in it.
Like a video game.
Yeah.
Where you save.
I was. You know, where you save all your items till the end and then you never use them, even though you're in the final boss and you know there's nothing after this. You're like, no, I'll save it.
That's a secret final boss.
We've already passed the final boss mission. We have these scrolls of tablets and I'm like, we'll save these for a really desperate situation. We may as well just take a cut. Let's just take a cut. It seemed like a really good idea to me. I'll also point out at this point, we had travelled a little bit of Sephora and we'd just gone up to the top of Esmain. We'd travelled like maybe a day out of Esmain once to a temple and then back. And we're like, you know, shouldn't take us that long. It's all good. We'll grab a cart. We'll go there. In, out, 20 minutes.
Wasn't the scale of the world also...
The scale of the world was quite a bit bigger. That was before I realised just how big the scale was.
I had no idea how big Jerry's world was. And Jerry's world, like they were saying about the scale, it was even bigger than it is now.
We knocked the scale down a bit to make it a little more
Not that it would have been a good idea then either, but, but it was a worse idea then because it took us 6 months to get to the other side of Esme by cart.
6 months of Korath's plague spreading unchecked. That was bad.
Yeah, that was half a year. And then we got there, we got to the library, like 3 days out of it disappearing.
Yep.
We got there, I'm like, Jerry obviously had to make all of this stuff that happened midway up because it wasn't supposed to happen. Lots of things happened. We fought an avatar of the gods. We went into this one place full of demons. We lost one of our party members. He's now demon currency. Lots of things happened. Our cart driver, he became a level 6 cleric.
Yeah.
Things happen.
6 months is a long time.
This is a derailment. Yeah, this is what happened over a lot of sessions. We finally got there. We got the information we needed. A couple of other bits and pieces. Then we're like, all right, guess we head back. And so we start cart driving back. As we're cart driving back, we start to realise that things have changed since we left. Certain towns are like all closed up, you know, some of the vegetation even is sort of dying and, you know, this entire forest has been quarantined, you know.
They get past towards Hithrock and they find a group of about 20 dwarves that have strange bulbous growths on them and they're...
Super gross.
Yeah, and they're kind of all sitting by the side of the road.
Do you know that's called their beards?
And as they get up close, the party gets about, 30 feet away? About that?
Not far.
And then the dwarves kind of halt them. And they're like, you shouldn't halt. Yeah. Go no further. There's disease that's spread. We're infectious.
We're like, we know. We're trying to fix it.
Yeah.
But they were really, really adamant on stopping us from passing. They're like, if there's one good thing we do with our lives, we want it to be this.
That comes later.
No, that's later.
Yeah, that's later. That's the bandits.
Oh,
These
I thought they
dwarves-
were the same people.
No, these dwarves, they were from Hithrock and they'd been kicked out
this wasn't the one
because
good
they
thing
were
wanted to
diseased.
do with their
Hithrock
lives.
is not
The dwarves, they don't care.
Hithrock is not a very kind
It's not
place.
compassionate.
No. And they looked at it and they're like, the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few. Those who are diseased leave. And they don't come back. And so these dwarves were sitting outside, not knowing what to do with their lives, however little of it remained. They were all very diseased. And the party ended up trying to rush through them. And they were like, no, you can't go this way. You will get sick and then you'll spread it further. You need to go and find another way. And the party's like, no, we're going this way. And so they sped through the cart. A minor bit of combat happened, which wasn't very much. They kind of just pushed over through the diseased
we had
and
more
dying
important things to-
dwarves.
okay, we were trying to freaking stop this disease, and these people wouldn't listen to
You
us.
guys had scrolls of teleport.
We know.
They were trying to get back to the original destination very quickly.
Yeah, we were as quick
Yeah.
as we possibly could.
And so they go past
Without using
they go
magic.
past Hithrock, and they go past and they ask the guys at Hithrock. They're like, "What's going on?" They're like, "No, go away. We're not accepting people in right now." And they close the visors off and they just tell them to leave. I goes, "All right then," and they start moving along.
Yeah, Hithrock got hit especially bad, actually.
That was where one of the small starting plagues started because it's
Yeah.
underground. There's not as much sun.
Moldy.
Yeah, and so it just kind of spread like
Yeah.
wildfire. Once started.
Dwarves don't shower very often.
Stubborn dwarves don't leave their holes when disease comes. They just get rid of the disease and hope it works.
Yeah, so it
That's
just
what
sort of
works.
festered in Hithrock.
Yeah.
Got hit
Yeah,
quite
because
badly.
this was like a new thing to the world as well.
Yeah.
No one really knew
And it-
how to combat
For the first
It wasn't
bajillion
just being
years,
cured. You couldn't just cure disease it.
No.
There were very few that could
Paladins
fix
could
it.
get it, even
Yeah.
though they're immune to disease.
Warforged could get it.
Well, mate, that's freaky.
Yeah.
I
It
just
was
assume
like-
it's different for them, like more rusty.
It was very nasty. There were only a few things that were immune to this disease, and they were Fistandor worshippers. Funnily enough,
I'm sorry, who?
Fistandor worshippers.
I'm sorry, who?
Shut your face.
I love Fistandor.
And so the party
I have a
goes
love-hate
forth.
relationship with him.
And now, was this the point where the
Same.
orc thing happened, or was this the bandits first?
The bandits must have happened. I can't remember
Or
what
did the
made us
bandits
turn
happen?
around.
Because you guys got to the.
Did we get all the way to Lurasic and then not get
Yes.
that in? Okay, yeah, the bandits happened first.
Yeah.
So we found a group of bandits and they were like, halt! Do not go past here. There is disease and evil. And if we do one useful thing with our lives, because they were dying, we will prevent you from also getting sick.
Yeah.
And
No, it wasn't you. They were preventing. They were trying to save their hometown that was behind them.
Oh,
They
well,
didn't
that
want
was
anyone
nice.
else to get
Oh
there
yeah,
and
because
bring
we
infection.
might have been sick.
Yeah, and-
Either way, myself and the other character who have been dealing with a lot of social situations, we're about to get up and sort of and then
The
the party wizard, the little
yeah,
kobold,
he's had enough. You don't have the time to stop and talk.
chain lightning, they're all dead.
They all die.
They're all dead, and we're just standing there like.
And then
What?
little kobold sitting on top of the cart just points and says, "Let's go. Go on."
Nothing good ever comes out of play character kobolds.
I'm not sure that it does.
Who was playing the kobold?
Blah.
Blah.
It was blah.
Blah.
It was blah. He was originally a satyr, actually.
Yeah, he
was
got
a satyr
reincarnated
that
as a
got turned-
kobold.
He was the first satyr that got played. Yeah, and then he got turned into a
And
kobold.
so they
He's
get all the
great.
way back to
Kobolds are good.
Lurasic, and by this time,
Yeah, we get to Lurasic and it's locked.
yeah, the
They
gates are
won't let us
closed.
in. We're like, we need to get into Lurasic. We're trying to fix this problem. And they're like, no, you can't come in here. No one ever listens.
No one
Just-
ever listens.
No one ever
Sounded
listens.
very mafia, just.
So long story short, I had to fast track the campaign. At this point,
You had to fast track it. We fast tracked it back to the other end of Esmain for a third time. Because we just spent...
no teleporting.
Are you sure it wasn't 3 months? Because I thought it was half a year total.
No, it was that one trip was 6 months, and then the next.
Yeah, back. And that was 6 months. So it was only 3
Okay,
months to
so
there.
three
So it was
there,
3
three
months until the thing disappeared. Yeah. Cool. So it was
Yeah.
6 months total so far. Then we headed back. And we headed for... Is it the place
It's
where
not
the
there
Iron
anymore.
Citadel is now?
Yes.
Okay, it was this place that used to be the Iron Citadel. Well, the Iron
Yeah.
Citadel used to be. It was this little village, which incidentally our first party ever went there as it was invaded by orcs.
Yeah.
It was currently home to a lot of orcs. We went there. We needed a boat because we had to get back to Flibbleton.
Yes, they couldn't teleport.
We
They
couldn't
needed a
teleport.
boat.
I honestly don't remember if I remembered the teleport scroll at this point.
I
think
remembered
might.
it every session.
I think I might have just forgotten it existed completely. Because we went all the way back here and we're like, we need a damn boat. And these orcs are like, you're not allowed in here, you filthy scuzz buckets. You're not welcome in our orc town. Also, you got diseases and stuff, and that's gross, and we don't want any of that.
And now,
We tried to
Is
see
that
them.
like elitist orcs?
No,
No,
they just didn't want
orcs
none
are
of that
just-
smelly
no,
disease
no.
in here.
Gross.
It's elitist orcs.
And so at
Yeah,
this
they-
point, it's important to
and
mention
orcs.
that one of the party was technically
You remember,
working for
remember how I
Korath.
said that guy had Palor? He briefly was Palor powers. He had the headlight hands.
Yeah.
At some point, did he die and then...
No, so basically what happened was he got infected by the disease,
He got infected by the disease.
and then at that point he was going to die.
He was gonna
and
die.
Korath came to him and like in his
Hey, man.
head and was like, "Hey, instead of dying, how about you do me some favors for me? I'll keep you alive." And that little thing you've got going there, it won't bother you anymore. It
It's
may
really-
even make you stronger.
It's really funny because the person that this happened to was also the person who lost his first character
Yeah.
to Korath. Like, he was the one who was the body of Korath
Yeah.
currently. Josh was
And
not having a good time with
so-
characters.
He looked at me and he's like,
So a few times
Nope.
this had come in handy. We fought a Hydra
Yeah.
once, and it was, everybody else was dead. This was in another underwater campaign. It was just me and him, and so I'm the paladin trying to chop this thing up. He's this swashbuckler having a hard time, but he manages to disease it because I'm the paladin. I'm not catching the disease
Yeah.
from this thing, and it worked so well.
and so he can
Remotely
unleash
evil,
disease from his hands.
Right.
Normally, it was just a random disease from the book. Like, it could be mummy rot, it could just be ghoul fever.
Yeah.
But depending on the situation, depends on the severity. And at this point, he just looks at it and he's like, well, I guess I'm going to try and get through this gate. Places...
Hold on.
Hold on.
I advocated that plan.
Okay, so
That's
the paladin
important.
said it was
The
a...
paladin, I thought that he was gonna just do it a bit, just be like a threat, like we were gonna be like, let us through, sort of thing. But it
We'll disease you.
it escalated quite quickly, actually. And he touched the gate, and it was just like disease, rotten
Yeah.
wood and boils, and the orcs didn't handle that very well.
The orcs took exception to that.
Yeah, the orcs did take exception to that, and we started fighting the entire village of orcs, which incidentally didn't end up well for them, because at this point I was in Eladrin and I had this little thing called Holy Word. So I'm like, all right, fight these orcs, use Holy Word. So I'm just like, whoosh, and
Over 100 of them die. Because
100 of these orcs.
a lot of them are evil. Like, there's a lot of them in there that are neutral, but a lot are evil. And, it's a town, so there's anywhere between level 1
Yeah.
through to, level 8.
Yeah, I was
She
like
was level 16 at that point?
something like that, yeah.
And
But
so-
we already fought the Avatar of the Gods, so yeah.
And so most of them just went, oh, okay, I guess I'll die then.
I guess I
and
guess
they
I'll
do.
die. Jerry wasn't happy with this
That was
specifically
the
because I
original
worshipped
Mm.
Pethuania, and that was a bad thing
Yeah.
to do. apparently.
Basically, the orcs were like, don't come into our town, you'll make us sick. And you're like, melt the gates, kill everyone, let me through.
They attacked us first, but only because we stormed their gates. But they did attack us first. But my justification for that was in the text of Holy Word. All right, it only kills evil people. So if they died, they were inherently evil to begin with and needed smiting.
Yeah, but they could be lawful
Needless to
evil.
say,
It's still evil.
Heronius
I mean,
did not approve.
This is
Yeah.
why Heronius took the halo away.
No.
We saw it coming.
So far, this has just been a story of good character goes bad.
I wasn't
That's a
meaning
different
to-
story.
Yeah,
we already
that's-
covered that story.
Did we?
Yeah, we already covered a lot.
Oh, lot. I was talking about Jane.
Oh no, that's something different.
Yeah.
So anyway, this eventually gets the campaign back on track as they boat all the way back to Flibbleton.
Did we get? Yeah, because
All
we went in
the
there.
way.
We didn't kill the entire. Hold up, we didn't kill the entire. You're just looking at the map
Yeah.
and seeing how long that is.
Yes.
Yeah.
We didn't actually
All
fight.
the way back. Didn't teleport. Nothing.
Stupid! We forgot about the thing, right? At this point, this is when we were only writing items down on little pieces of paper that Jerry would hand us, and then if somebody lost it, it was gone. So I honestly don't even know who had it. I don't know where it went.
But
I think it might have been Blah. Yeah, I think it might have been Blah
So-
who had it because he was the one who wanted to start the business with the teleport.
he also did suggest several times that you use the teleport. You guys were like,
Yeah,
no, we don't
no,
need
that
it,
was
it's
that was
fine.
me. That was 100% me. The cart thing, that was me.
Yeah. So-
I started all of this.
While
I
we're fighting
am,
through,
I
the-
am to blame for 50% of this world's death.
The chieftain of this orc town was a bugbear.
At least.
And he had decided that he was going to march out there and kick these losers out of his town.
Yeah, well,
He
thanks
marches
to a divine intervention from Korath. Thank you, Korath,
Yep.
for that one thing and nothing else.
They managed to beat
Yeah,
him.
we managed to barely survive and beat him. Actually, I just
you-
remember that
You defeated him and then he came back.
my sword was stuck in him,
Yep.
and he was standing because I rolled a fumble and my sword got stuck in his chest, and we kind of won the fight, and then he was standing there saying, "Oh yeah, come on, let's come back to my house," and we walk all the way back to my house, and I'm just sitting there like, can I just, can I just grab that from out of your chest?
It's like,
Now, this guy was incredibly high level.
Yeah,
Was a
He
previous
wasn't
player
even
character.
noticed.
So it was a
Should I
previous
help?
player character.
Oh really?
And yeah, that was why he was there. He basically, his last whole thing was setting up his own horde and then going around claiming places.
Yeah, he did go around and claim a
Yeah.
place.
And so he
I ran
when he
out
was playing the character, whenever he got bested in combat, regardless of who it was by,
Yeah.
he'd respect them. He'd get up, all previous grudges would be dropped, shake their hand, treat them like a friend.
Yeah.
This caused several issues for his party, but that's not the case. That's not here.
This is a different story.
And so the rest of these orcs, the surviving ones, are quite shocked, and they start quickly trying to rebuild the gate as their war chief got killed and then instantly came back alive due to magical armor that he had. Took them back, worked out they needed a ship, gave him some armor and equipment and bits and pieces.
Yeah.
It's like congratulations, good job. Here's a ship, get on your way.
We got on our way to
Yeah.
Flibbleton. From where the Iron Citadel is to Flibbleton.
That's literally crossing about half the world, if not more. And so they get back there, and then that's when I fast track. Everything that was supposed to then happen had to be split down to take about 2 weeks of in-game time because they were running out of time as the disease constantly spread and Korath was getting more powerful.
Because half the world was dead.
Yeah, but that was a
like
huge
half
derailment.
horizontally and half vertically as well.
Yes.
Half the world is dead.
They get all the way back there, and then they get accosted because what took you so long? You had scrolls of teleport!
At which point I'm like, hey man, I never asked for this. Alright, this was my job. The world was never my responsibility. I'm just some random kid. I wanted to make some money to send back to mum on the farm, okay? That's all I wanted.
And
That's
was
the story. That's the story of let's take the cart.
Yeah.
And for standoff.
So on to a different derailment.
Pick something else.
Okay.
Cart with legs. We
Cart
talked
with
about
leg.
that
Yeah,
earlier.
okay, the cart with legs.
Promised.
So
Yeah.
on this cart ride, this is the same one. This is at the start of the cart ride that they run into Jonathan's.
Yeah.
Helpers.
First story we were telling.
So
Sidran built the cart for us.
yep.
Children build a cart.
And
Good at
now, Sidran was G's character, and G had to miss the session. But we decided, you know what? Let's just use the cart anyway. We'll continue the session.
He did give his explicit consent.
Yes,
He was like, they can use the cart.
We can use the cart. So we're starting out in Breport, or Lorasic, I believe it was at the time.
Yeah, it was started off at Lorasic and you were
What?
heading... Yeah.
No, it was
Breport
Breport.
by that point.
Yeah, it was Breport.
Yeah. It was Breport.
Yep.
Oh,
Yeah, it was
oh
100%
yeah, because
Breport.
Barrett was up there and everything.
So we set out from Breport, and we were travelling. We were travelling down to, I think it was Greyhold. Yes.
You were going to Greyhold because
And,
of a quest you were currently working on.
Along the path, there's this nice place in the dead middle of Esmain called the Temple of Aludamara.
Look at the mic.
And what ended up happening was we decided to stop in it because this was just after Wizix had joined the party. We were chasing an orc who had stolen Ignis's magical elven horse.
Oh,
That's
that's
right.
right.
And
He's
we were
familiar.
scrying
Yeah,
on
it
this
wasn't his
horse.
familiar.
Wasn't
It
his
was
familiar?
like his child.
He was an elven
Oh,
horse.
Yes.
okay.
So we were exploring a temple of Fistandor when that's why they came to Lightwind and got dumped with Wizix. So we were going through the temple of Fistandor, and there was a massive orc horde that was raiding this temple. Anyway, we got in there, and the orc leader ended up stealing Ignis's horse and made a break for it. Now, this horse was magical, and turns out that the orc leader wasn't actually an orc and wasn't actually the leader that we thought it was, and was magically enchanting the horse to never need to sleep. So it was just running, and elven steeds are like twice as fast as any other horse. And it was just bolting for it. So we're travelling from Lightwind, and Benson is constantly scrying on the horse. Ignis is constantly scrying on the horse because he can't scry on the person because he's passing all of his will saves, and I think he had spell resistance at the time.
Yeah.
So we're scrying on the horse, and
Because
because
drow.
the horse can't, the horse doesn't want to say no. It's like, he's looking at me.
He doesn't even know.
He probably doesn't have the will save to be able to stop it. So we're following it, and he gets to Breeport. So we get onto our cart, and we hightail up to Breeport. By the time we finally make it Breeport, he's already down at the Temple of Eludamara. So we start travelling down there on a normal cart, and we get to the Temple of Eludamara. And we decide to go in. And we decide to play some games with Eludamara.
No, we did that on the way back.
No, it was
on the way.
Because you met my druid in Greyhold.
Yes,
And she
with the
raised her
cart.
finger.
Yeah, no, we
Yeah.
parked the cart
okay.
outside, and then we got off and walked. You had the horse. We specifically took the cart
Yeah.
with legs down there. So we
Yeah.
got to the Temple of
We
Eludamara.
eventually got back to back to Freeport with 2 horses.
You went to Ferncombe with
Yes.
horses,
Yeah.
didn't you? To retire the horses in Ferncombe because
No,
you didn't want us. You didn't
Yeah.
want bad things happening to
Yeah.
them.
Yeah,
Because they'd just get trampled if they were on the...
Yeah.
Yeah,
Blah-
that's right, because that happened to one of the horses.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Blah ended up. We all made it. Looked in the lucky chest. One of our characters lost a finger.
I didn't.
Wizix
I don't
lost
think I did
his
any of it.
finger, I
Yeah.
believe. No, Wizix lost his finger to Paz.
Yeah, no, it was my
Yeah.
druid that lost
Yes.
his finger.
Right.
That's why.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
know, 'cause
Anyway,
we stopped in there on the way back. as
Yeah.
well.
So, Blah decided it would be a good thing. The cleric of Eludamara, the head priest of Eludamara, looked at the cart and said, we basically asked, can you get us down to Greyhold quicker? And said, I can, with a big grin on her face. And now, the cart belonged to Sidron, and G wasn't here. Blah decided he would take it upon himself to make the executive decision that we're going to let Eludamara have some fun with the cart.
Now, Blad's character did worship Eludamara. So it was very in character.
Yes.
Poor
Yeah,
Sidron
it was
wasn't
still
there to say no.
scumbaggy though.
Oh yeah, I'm not saying no. it
And
wasn't.
we were given the token, the one that you flip, and
We were given like 3 of them.
You got 3 coins.
yes.
Each one had a happy face on one side and a sad face on the other.
So we all piled into the car. Well, the priestess of Eludamara ended up growing legs out of it, and if you've ever seen anything from Discworld, think Rincewind's luggage,
Yeah.
but in cart form.
Hairy, manly legs.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we all
Gross
climb in,
toenails, I bet.
and the horses can barely touch the ground.
I just pictured the leg from Monty Python.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's basically
that's
it.
the leg I
Just those,
see.
just 4 of those.
So we take off, and we get down to Greyhold eventually. And we park outside
Eventually.
because we don't want
Yeah,
to
it takes
take the Eludamara cart inside of Greyhold. So
No.
we park it out on the
No.
side.
One thing to mention here is when the legs came out, they broke the wheels. There are no wheels on this cart anymore. Chloe's druid decided that because the danger to the horses, she was going to take them back to Ferncombe. And she left the party there because the party was very much, we want to use these.
Didn't we go like a little bit and one of the horses did get crushed? And then that's when she decided
be.
she was going to turn
Yeah.
back and take the horses back to Ferncombe because one of the horses flat out died.
Yeah.
Yeah, we basically
trampled by the
when
legs.
when the legs came out, the horses could barely touch the ground, and the legs moved about 4 times faster base
Yeah.
than the horses could.
We lost a horse.
So when the horses are on their tippy toes, and then you start
Tippy hooves.
making them run at 4 times their speed from 0 to 100 in a quarter of a second,
It's bad for the health.
the horses sort of just got trampled under the feet as
We
it was
could
running
also
along.
Feed the cart. Someone's character wanted to feed the horses to the cart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is a druid.
That sounds like something Blah would have wanted
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
do.
I don't
I
want to
think
like throw out.
I don't know point
So-
fingers, but that was Blah.
The way the cart worked was you say the location you want to go to and it beelines it.
Yeah.
It doesn't care if there's a building in the way. It doesn't care if there are trees. It doesn't care about following the path.
Yeah.
It'll just go, you were at point A, you need to get point B.
Most
I will
You
get you
really
there.
should go via, C, D, E, F, G and do a long scenic route. No, we're just going straight through. And if you hit a building, well, it's your own fault.
Yeah.
Now, back when we encountered the undead, that wanted the hair and the locks and that sort of thing, and the paint went all
party
over
undead
the
ladies.
cloak. We, G had returned to the party and was quite upset, but thought, you know what, let's just make use of it. And he kind of forgot that you need to specify exactly. So what we were doing up to the point, we were saying, take us to the gates outside of Greyhold, or take us to the gates outside of Breeport.
Yeah.
Now, when they were closing in on us, and we thought we were about to die, G said, take us to Breeport.
And thus, the legs they did take.
Full stop.
And then we flipped a coin, and it took off 4 times faster than usual.
Even
And-
Euless behind.
Yes,
Goodbye,
Euless
Euless.
got left
It was
behind.
for the better. Not Lewis.
Euless.
Yeah, I thought you said Lewis.
No.
I'm like, that's not it.
The problem is, he said take us to Breeport, which the cart took as take us to the centre of Breeport.
And because this is the Litamara,
There's no
to the
breaks.
centre of Breeport.
Boy howdy, did it take them to the centre
So
of Breeport?
we started
Gates be damned.
breaking out into a nice stride, and thankfully, between the temple where we were
Middle of
and
Esmane. Very middle.
Breeport,
Yep,
there wasn't much in the way.
thankfully.
So we got there.
I mean,
went
honestly,
over
it
a
kind
few
of looks like we
hills.
would have just crashed through
Vancouver,
Combe and
Respite.
Respite. Like, they're all in the
Yeah,
way.
you guys were just on the other side of those.
Yeah,
That's convenient.
The
problem
oh, yeah,
is-
because we'd already started moving.
Exactly.
we were approaching the gates.
Did
of
we run, like,
Breeport.
over the water or something like
No,
that?
no, because
Yeah.
by the point
Under the
by the time we got to, by the time they closed in on us, we were just north of Respite. That was where we
Ah.
encountered the
Oh, yeah.
undead.
Because, yeah.
Yeah.
What's that say?
right.
Prince's Watch.
Yeah, Princess Watch.
Oh.
So,
That before,
yeah.
but I feel like that's sort of relevant to me. Continue.
Probably.
so what happened was we took off, and we were approaching the gates, and the guards were standing there looking at us. And
weren't
there was
standing.
there was
They were running.
travellers on the road going up and down. They were diving out of the way. Now I was playing Wizix, and I thought, I'm just
At least
going
this
to
thing was
try
loud, you know.
and jump out. I'm going to try and jump with the cart, and I'm going to just try and roll. It's my best chance of survival, so I grabbed my dog, and I just sort of jumped out spinning, and sort of went 50-50, am I landing on me, or am I landing on the dog? Landed on the dog, killed the dog. Alton brought the dog back to life. So that's Wing
better
Commando
jumps.
Doggo, Alton Res #1.
Yeah.
Someone may touch on that in the future.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone else, so Andrew's character with the paint on the cloak,
Andrew
He's wearing his
had a
seatbelt.
He's
seatbelt.
strapped in.
He's the only one with a seatbelt.
Everyone else tried to clamber out of the vehicle. He did not.
he forgot
strapped
he
in.
had the seatbelt on and was panicking and couldn't actually get it
We
undone.
crashed into a residential building. There was a family of 3 people in
Was
there.
a family of 3.
There was a family
No,
of
they
3
got
people.
rezzed.
Yeah.
Yeah, they did. You paid for the res. But they-
Yeah, I think most of us actually did survive that.
the paladin with the lion,
paladin,
however.
myself, with the lion, we did not. We became
No.
liquid.
Now, the paladin could be brought back, but the lion, unfortunately, was
The
unrecoverable.
lion couldn't have been,
Other than
and I built this
true
entire
res.
character around her mount, so I
Yeah.
was just sitting there, just like, yeah, alright, it's fine. I'll play someone else. And then I played Albie.
Yeah.
But
I remember
when
you
we
guys got out of
crashed,
this lighter because my druid came
Yeah.
back and was like, yeah, I'm gonna help fix things.
Yeah.
when we crashed, all of Wizix's paint splattered everywhere, and he got his signature rainbow stick. It was a single stick left over from the wreckage that was just completely coated in all sorts of paint. They didn't mix into a brown. They all somehow miraculously stayed
Because
their
everyone
own
sort
colour.
of splattered on it, so
Yeah.
that makes sense. They didn't really mush around or anything.
And we all got taken into custody by the guards and saying, "What are you doing? You are causing... You killed a family of 3.
Destroyed.
You have destroyed the front gate."
traumatized
Because we
people.
ploughed straight through the front gate when it was closed, destroyed the
Do you think
gate
this counts as a public
into a
disturbance?
building.
Yes.
Yeah, alright.
And so
I was dead, so...
Wizix
it's not my
tried to
problem
palm it off as I was never involved. This car came barreling towards me and I just dived out of the way. And then Sidron was a goody two-shoes and dobbed me in, saying no, he was part of it. And I was almost off scot-free. I was almost completely out of it, and being a victim and being I mean, worshipping Alton, practical jokes, I was more on the Ludamara side at that point.
Yeah.
It was interesting. So I was nearly off scot-free. I nearly got basically compensated as a victim. And then the guard comes in and sits down and says, your friend has just told me everything. We know you were part of the cart ride.
Gotta love it when that happens.
And then
I got dumped
there's
so much.
only so much a natural 20 can do for you being, you know,
When somebody
turned
else
in.
is telling the
I got stuck with a sizable chunk of the bill as well.
Yeah. So moral of the story, wheels are better than legs.
Yep.
No.
Even if they take longer.
Unless you
and
have
kill
a
half the
teleport
mod.
scroll.
Yeah.
Wheels are better than legs unless you have teleport.
In which case teleport's better and you
In
should
which
use
case
it.
teleport is better and you should always remember that you have it and use it.
Always try and transport via magic.
Unless those magic is legs.
Next up.
Yeah, well, what are you planning
Pretty much
on doing
all
next
of the
up? We're gonna have to cut most
derailments
of
so
these out.
far
Yeah,
have some
cut
sort
most
of
of them out.
relation to
We
Jonathan.
have spent quite a long time talking
Nearly
about
every
these.
derailment has had a tie to Jonathan,
Except
except for
a couple of them have.
except for the core
The,
act.
first, the,
Well,
the early ones.
Let's
I
go.
was
Let's
gonna
start
say, we've already talked.
abridging them a little bit. Well, help what?
Yeah, no. I reckon we should save the ones that have to do with G until a time where G is here.
Okay. So
So that pulls out at least 3 of them.
Don't
That pulls
mention the
out.
pit feint.
okay. So don't mention the
Yeah,
pit
there
thing.
you go.
So there was a point before all this gnome shenanigans happened that gnome was, I won't say respectable.
Gnome G, Gnomington. Okay.
Yeah, gnome G
You gotta
Gnomington.
say that name because not everybody knows who he
In
is.
Fluelton.
Pretty much everyone knows.
Current
who he is.
events. If you've been paying attention to current events, you know.
I'm not sorry.
So
You should be.
Yeah,
Okay,
these guys-
maybe a
I'm
little bit.
actually very
Shall we-
excited to hear this story because this is like the origin story of the whole gnome problem right now.
Yeah.
well, it's the spark that set it alight.
Yeah, I mean, there were
Okay.
already problems, but
Yeah.
I'm keen to hear this.
So
much of the gnome situation is Darby's fault.
Oh yes.
I'm not one to honestly point fingers.
Oh no.
No,
Oh,
are
gnome.
you?
I've caused enough problems myself, so
Yeah,
I
well,
can't.
Gnome is my fault. The mysterious third-party benefactor is my fault.
Oh,
And
why
they
would they?
all spawned
well, I
from
mean,
wild magic.
technically this last one spawned from you and your choice of words.
Yes,
Yeah.
well.
But he
So-
was playing a wild magic.
Yeah.
Which
So
means he was
You
playing
can't just
chaotic.
blame wild magic.
It means he was playing chaotic Darby.
yeah, it's a different alignment that only Darby has.
Chaotic Derby
It's the
is...
secret 10th alignment.
You don't care...
Oh no, it's the 11th alignment. 'cause
You
the 10th
don't really
alignment is also
remember
stupid.
any of the things you're told not to say 5 minutes ago, and you randomly blurt out the things you were told not to say 5 minutes ago.
So
Ah.
what happened here?
I was going to say someone else
Was-
did that as well.
A lot of people have done that before.
It
Like,
was
what was
specifically
it?
in front of the
Yeah.
gnome. It was all like, don't mention Bib. Blah mentions Bib.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, it's not. It's no. Mine's on the
Again.
next level
Oh,
up.
Yeah.
I think that was Benson that mentioned it that time.
That was blah.
No, it was
Oh,
bluff.
okay.
That was blah.
So anyway, with this, so the party, including Vandrin, Darby's wild mage, and it was your merfolk at the time, wasn't it?
Yuri.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah. And so
Yay.
they've just killed a very large drake. Huge, even. This was something that was supposed to be a campaign arc that was starting, and then they ended up going over and doing a small undead job, and that changed that whole thing. They ended up fighting a war.
The way we dealt with the Drake was wild magic. I went to go cast a spell at it, or rather, I was out at the time, and one of the other guys decided I'm going to give Darby's character a shot, and I'm going to try and roll for it. And so he goes to cast a spell out of my spellbook, and he wild surges, and instead of casting the intended spell, it becomes flesh to stone with no save.
Oh.
And so the Drake that would have
Stale
passed
design.
on, anything but a 1, and probably would have still passed on a 1 because it could probably just treat a 1 as a not natural 1, didn't get a save and became stone.
Yeah.
So we had a giant colossal dragon, it was a blue dragon,
Blue
that-
drake.
blue drake,
Mm.
that
Drake.
had become pure stone.
Yeah.
Now we had no way of
It's cool stat.
reversing this stone effect, and we really wanted the body parts of the dragon because we had killed a smaller dragon before, and it was worth a very large sum of money. So we're like, this one's even bigger. We didn't know it was a drake at the time. And we're like, it's even bigger. We can use this and make an absolute fortune. We're talking probably close to like 1 million gold probably more if we pawned off the entire parts.
Yeah, it was 80 feet tall.
No,
That's
you
big.
wasn't
That's
in
big.
here. You came in during the undead stuff.
Yeah,
You came in right at the start, right before you went there.
No, she
Really?
left for a couple of sessions.
Oh, okay. So basically, what happened here was, after this, they were like, "We really want these parts, but we can't carry this. We need someone who can. Who do we know that can possibly transport or salvage this much?" Went around. They went back to the Adventurers Guild, asked a few questions. No one there could really help them with this amount.
Can anyone here bench press this much?
So they were like, "Well, Littleton's not too far away. Let's go see if we can bargain with the gnome." They get there, and sure enough, the gnome is willing to do it for a share of the parts. And
So first of
some
all,
other details.
I turn up to the gnome and I say, "Hey, we were on good terms at that point.
Yeah.
we were very good customers of his."
Yeah.
And
Better or
we
worse.
said to him, I went there with our druid, who was played by Jeremy at the time, and it was just us two.
HMAS Hyper Bear.
Yes, the HMS Hype Bear. Everyone else was either dead or was guarding the body to make
Yeah.
sure that no one else came in and stole our kill.
Yeah.
Because we're out in the middle of the desert, you don't know who's lurking around. If someone turns up and just goes, "I can take that," and took our statue, then we'd be mighty pissed. So I teleport up there with the druid. Everyone else is sitting around the table and just going, "Oh no, here comes Chaotic Derby." So I say to the gnome, "I need, you can give me spells. I've purchased spells from you before. I need Stone to Flesh." And he says, "Well, why do you need that?" And I said, "Oh, well, I just need to put it in, I want it in my spell book. I accidentally cast Flesh to Stone, and now I would like to Stone to Flesh." And he said, "No, you tell me why." So we, for some stupid reason, Chaotic Derby came out and we mentioned this giant blue dragon.
Drake.
We didn't know it was a drake at the time, so we mentioned a giant blue dragon. I want the what's the part that creates the fire?
Draconis Fundamentum,
Yes.
the heart, and the brain.
Yes. And we said,
Oh.
no. Alright, but do you have a way of carving it up and doing everything for us? Because, you're getting a very sizable chunk. These are the most expensive parts of the dragon, basically. Can you help us out a bit more? And he said, "Sure." And he handed me a cat.
A little kitten. Pure white fur with a pink bow on its neck
That's great.
and tail.
Which turned into a pit fiend
Oh.
that was bound. And basically the gnome treated him as his slave.
As a cat.
And the pit fiend was absolutely mad. So
Yeah.
Vandrin, as like a level 11 wizard at the time, was freaking out because the pit fiend's just appeared. And he's very annoyed.
Now, he was told about this beforehand. He was like, "Look, there's a friend in here. When you call him out, he will help you. He will take care of salvaging the parts, giving you what you need, and then take it to where you want. And then he will take my share and bring it back. But you cannot mention this to anyone. Do not mention the pit fiend to anyone or my involvement."
Also, don't let anyone
Everyone
see
does
the
something
pit
else.
fiend,
Yeah.
because if the pit fiend spots anyone that doesn't have the mark,
Yeah.
so we all got given a mark by the gnome on our hands that said, if the pit fiend tries to do anything, just slap him with the
No.
with the.
It was more set so those who had the mark, the pit fiend could not hit, could
No.
not attack, could not take.
No, the words we got given were, if he tries to turn hostile, just hit him with the mark, and he will turn straight back into a cat and be powerless.
You also couldn't actually attack
Yeah.
you directly.
Or, and any of your friends around you, make sure he stay in line. But anyone that isn't part of your party, and anyone that doesn't have the mark that he sees, it's free game for him to kill. Now, we were
Nice.
based out of the Adventurers Refuge at the time, and we were all part of the guild, and we were like, okay, this sounds like an okay deal. But how are we going to teleport the entire thing? And he said, well, he's going to come out there, he's going to dice it all up, he's going to extract all the bones, he's going to extract all the meat, all the scales, separate it all into perfect, sizable lump, 1,000-pound chunks. And then he's going to teleport all of it to wherever you want. Just don't let anyone see you. So we thought, we don't want to go stupidly far outside of Adventurers Refuge, because then carting it back and forth is going to take ages. I know wait here. We took the cat, we teleported to the site, and we got the pit fiend to cut the entire body up into chunks for us. And I said, wait here, everybody. I'm going to go and try and get the guards to hide so that we can teleport right outside the gate for a minute. He can teleport the stuff in, and then he can teleport out, and we've got it all sitting right outside. So I teleport up to the
Darby
gates of
logic at
Adventure
its
and
finest.
Refuge, and I approach the guard sitting on the wall, and I said, hello, good sir. We are members. We would like to request that you just duck down behind the walls for just like a minute. Not even a minute, just like 20 seconds. And then I'll say it's okay, you can come back out. Just, we've got someone appearing,
Sus as heck.
we've got someone turning up, and we've been told that no one is allowed to see him.
And of course, they're like, no, that sounds dumb. We're
So-
here to keep an eye on this place.
Yeah, they say no, and I say, please. Just please. And then
Please, just
Darby
please,
logic
please.
clicks again, and I say, it's a pit fiend. And suddenly all of the guards just go absolutely white and bright-eyed and start running towards the like main administrative
Not all
area.
Of them. Only
Sorry,
one of them runs.
yes.
The rest of them draw their weapons and start waiting and looking out.
Yeah, because otherwise Darby will get what he wants and will be
Would have been brilliant.
So anyway, I follow after the guard that's going in and talking to the leaders of the Adventurers Refuge, and I say, don't worry, he's under control. Now at this point, I didn't have a whole bunch of knowledge on, binding devils and demons and all that sort of thing, and I thought, okay, it's D&D. It's a hype, you need to be an extremely powerful wizard to do it, but I know the gnome is extremely powerful, and he's been good in the past. He hasn't, he's a bit of an asshole, and he's, sort of extorted us a bit, but
He's helped.
every time he's helped, it's never ended badly. Except for
For you,
all of
baby.
Jeremy's equipment turning into butterflies and flowers, but that's another story.
Ah.
So I
Jeremy
explained
probably deserved
to
it.
Magnus, the leader of the Adventurers Refuge, that it's okay. The pit fiend is under control of the gnome, but the gnome has said anyone without the mark, if he sees anyone without the mark and isn't part of my party, he's got free reign to attack. And we just want to get these dragon parts outside the town, then he can go. And suddenly Magnus goes, he's gone too far this time. It's time to put a stop to him.
Oh my goodness, Magnus.
And that's how the Safula War started, because Vandrin, who is currently residing between Soru and Mass in the Salt Forge.
Don't tell them. Don't tell them you're responsible and then tell everyone where you are.
He wants people to go.
Yeah, Darby has his own setup in a pocket
Let's-
dimension.
But
Let's
no
leave
one-
that.
yeah.
Let's leave that for
If
surprises.
you want to go and come and talk to Vandrin, he's more than welcome to hear your requests once you pass some trials.
She passed, after the beep.
So yes, that's how that started.
there
If
you go.
anyone knows anything about the third-party beneficiary of the gnome, that also happened from one of my other wild mages.
Oh yeah, we
That's-
touched on that story briefly.
That's
Yeah.
what
in the
happens
fourth
when
episode.
Yeah.
devils or demons are in prison. They become objects.
That
Not
prison
quite-
in particular.
Yeah. So
It's
there
not
is
just any
a particular prison that I have in my, multiverse.
You already explained this.
Oh yeah, I already explained this
Yeah,
in the
you
last
already
episode.
explained like all of
That
the
one-
last episode.
That one, go back and watch that. We'll give you a few moments.
They're gonna need longer than that.
No, you can pause it.
They can
just pause it and they don't have to listen to us.
Yeah, they're not gonna go back and watch that for 2 hours.
Oh yeah, okay, fair enough.
I don't
Okay.
have the timestamp.
So,
We'll put it in like the
Yeah,
Pop it in
here.
the comments.
Yeah.
just like we say to the rest of the wild mages,
I'll play another one.
don't you dare.
I'll do it.
You're
Don't you
banned.
do it.
No,
Darby, no.
feel free to contact me for
Darby,
this.
no.
A bonus 1,000 XP for whoever kills Darby's characters.
Okay.
Whoa.
Only 1,000.
Yeah, I
you
don't
can get
want too
Vandrin,
much.
and killing Vandrin is more than 1,000 XP.
I'll get my
Darby.
buddy.
I said a
You know-
bonus 1,000.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll get my buddy Egnar on it.
Look, I'll just wait until the bunny comes back. It'll be fine.
So,
Yeah, she's got good reason.
I'm not bringing you back now.
Anyway, you've seen
That's
what that
better.
is. That was
Who is this?
a portal was created, and he got out because of him, and then he had a boat, he had a vessel, and he had everything he could have wanted to get what he has now.
Hello.
Touched on that before.
If all the
knows?
planes
It's his
end in like 6 months from
Okay,
the time this
explain
gets
to me
uploaded.
why the planes are melding together. That we don't know. We know about how the demony guy
Okay.
came out and how he took over your boat. Well,
So,
kind of.
the
But
current,
I don't know about the planes.
the
You
current
keep mentioning it.
plan of
Whose plan?
the gnome
The gnome, yeah.
is currently to merge all the planes into one so he can rule over everything.
Yeah.
He's crazy.
Yeah.
Yes!
Like, I
Yes!
knew that, but...
But that is his current plan.
Don't
wish I
play
had a
with epic
gun,
level
just-
NPCs or epic level casters. Once you get to like that sweet, like you can cast 9th level spells, I advise you to kill your arcane caster for the good of the world, so that they too
sorry,
don't
Ignis.
become power hungry.
It's coming.
Oh god, I'm next.
Albie's a fine caster, he's fine.
Vandra nearly went down the same route the gnome was, because every time you play an arcane caster and you get to that point where you get 9th level spells and it's like, I don't need anyone, I've got all this power, I'm so self-sufficient, I can cast Gate, I can cast Wish, you
That's
know,
why I'm afraid
I'm
of
a wild
Cantankerous
mage, I can
now.
cast Miracle.
I'm a little afraid of Cantankerous still.
It triggers something of just going, you know what, that alignment really needs to be a C followed by an N.
Or a C followed by a D.
Yeah.
But I think this entire video
Is that your
thing,
ankle cracking every time
Yeah.
you...
Yes.
Wow.
this can be summed up basically with remember names.
Remember names.
Take notes!
Remember names. Take notes. Was it... Wheels are better than legs, unless you have teleport.
Play wild mages.
Don't play wild.
Don't.
Don't
Listen to Darby.
Don't listen to Darby.
Um,
What was the other one? Cookies. Always knock.
Yeah.
Unless it's a demon, then don't knock. But otherwise, always knock.
Yeah.
And so,
I-
and join Albie's Boy Scouts.
Honest-
We're taking applications today. If you are interested, please contact Albie.
Comes
So-
with the free harness.
Honestly,
Comes with a free baby harness.
everything you've heard today, while not planned, has turned out to be hilarious, important, or character defining.
Impactful on the world.
Impactful, yeah.
50% of the world? Boom. That's
So-
impact in the world.
Derailing things isn't always a bad idea.
It's
Idea, maybe.
Or thing to happen. Sometimes there can be good opportunities. Just a matter of whether...
This is the heartwarming moment at the
You
end.
turn
so
with
we
them
all
or-
come together around the fire.
Oh, that's not happening.
Yeah, it's like everything will turn out alright.
Everything will turn...
Get back to
it
me in a
won't,
month.
It
and then we'll
won't.
find out.
It won't always turn out alright.
Look, it'll be fine. I'll have my Abjure in them.
But it will always leave
Character,
memories. But,
She's a bad.
good or bad, we'll leave that for now,
Yeah.
as we've been going for quite a while.
There'll
and
be a
people
part
are probably
two.
sick of us.
There'll be a part 2.
There will be a
No.
part 2 in the future. There are so many more, so much content unused.
If you'd like to play a wild mage, contact me.
If you'd like to play a wild mage, I suggest you go to Darby's house and then we can blow you all
Please
up at once.
I thought you were just going to say find another DM.
Look,
No,
the wild magic table has been revised, and a lot of the things that
Yes.
Vandrin and my other unnamed wild mages that shall never be named have done
Frank.
are no longer
what about
capable
the
of
other
doing
I
that.
was like, if you've ever
Yeah.
been to Breakport, you've seen
We've
a giant
adjusted
statue
it.
of a moose.
That's Frank.
That's
That
Frank.
was a wild mage and a barbarian.
Yeah, that's what the picture is, see?
Frank
Frank. It's just a giant
is
statue.
what
of
started
that.
it all, and it's what's going to end it all.
It might
It's
one
not
day.
But-
Please.
He'll come back.
We'll call this to an end.
Yeah.
So, thank you, Chloe, Darby, Cammy.
You said Chloe like looking at Darby. I'm like, what?
And Darby
Chloe,
looking at Chloe.
Darby.
We're interchangeable.
Jerry.
Let's be honest.
Alright, this is our
Is
new
that okay?
DM.
So, hi guys.
Hi, Jerry.
G.
Everyone joins the
Shoot.
Boy Scouts.
I'm now the microphone.
No, you're
No,
not.
you're now just a player.
Ah.
You have
Yeah,
to
not
deal
so
with
bad.
wild mages.
All right,
Oh, I
so
can
without,
derail
without further
people.
ado, we'll see you next time
Yeah.
on Histories of Pethuania. I'm your DM, Jerry.
I'm Cammy.
Take it back. I want to be Cammy again.
Can I be Cammy?
Yeah,
Donkey!
yeah.
Yeah, cool.
Catch you around. Bye.